Chapter 2161 Shattered Virtual Area Boundary. Open black lens bracket seeking full order close black lens bracket. Fengyang High Plains. Yi Tian came here to visit Zubai Daozu. Zubai Daozu did not establish any power, but lived in Zubai Shenshen. Most people couldn't get here. Of course, there is no important matter, and the ordinary half-step 6th level ancestor would not dare to disturb this Zubai Daozu. Zubai Daozu, Suya Saint Sect Endless Saint Patriarch came to visit. Yi Tian's voice entered the void white divine mountain. Soon, a voice came. Endless Saint Ancestor, please come in. As soon as the voice fell, a golden road crossed over. Yi Tian walked on the golden road and entered the void white divine mountain in a blink of an eye. Infinite Saint Ancestor, I didn't expect you to come to visit me. Zubai Daozu was a little surprised. I'm here to ask Zubai Daozu, I take the liberty to interrupt, please forgive me. Yi Tian said quickly. Ha ha ha, Zubai Daozu smiled and said, it's my honor to have the Endless Holy Ancestor come to ask me for advice. He would not treat Yi Tian as an ordinary half-step 6th level ancestor, but as a Taoist ancestor of the same level. Moreover, once Yi Tian becomes the original ancestor of the 6th layer, his strength will surpass him instantly, and he will not be able to compare in the future. Therefore, he is also willing to befriend a monster like Yi Tian. After Yi Tian chatted with Zubai Daozu for a while, he began to ask for advice. Zubai Daozu, I am very close to the 6th level ancestor, and I want to condense Dao fruit, and before condensing Dao fruit, I need to condense Dao heart, which requires bearing the thing. I don't know, where can I get the bearing thing that condenses the 9-fold Dao fruit? It's not easy to condense the bearing of the 9-fold Dao fruit. Zubai Daozu frowned. At the beginning, he only condensed the 6th level Dao fruit. Although the carrier he found could condense the 7th level Dao fruit, he failed to condense it successfully and only condensed the 6th level Dao fruit. The things that can condense the 9-fold path fruit are too rare. Zubai Daozu, don't even you know? Yi Tian asked. It's not that I don't know, it's not necessarily there now. Zubai Daozu explained. I have found such a carrier before, but those half-step 6th level ancestors in the primordial region are not used. The ancestor-level Taoist found such a carrier, and did not keep it at all, and directly traded it with other powerful regions. After all, such a carrier is of high value. If you trade it out, you can exchange for a lot of cultivation resources. 1. I see. Yi Tian nodded slightly. Zubai Daozu said again. Infinite Holy Ancestor, perhaps there is such a thing in the Taiguyuan area, but it's too difficult to find, and other Daozu probably won't keep it. You want to find such a thing. The things that are carried can only go to the Shattered Void region. Boundary of the Shattered Void. Yi Tian has never heard of this area, in fact he doesn't know anything about the area outside the Taikuyuan area. Zubai Daozu said. The Shattered Void area is a broken area, and there is no protection, no rules, and extreme chaos. If you hide there, it is not easy to be found, and any ancestor can enter the shattered area. Therefore, many areas choose to trade in the shattered area, and even some Dao ancestors will open up a dojo in the shattered area. Zubai Daozu, as far as I know, the half-step 6th level primitive ancestor can't leave the area of the primordial realm, right? Yi Tian frowned. That's right, the half-step 6th level primordial ancestor really can't leave the area of the primordial realm, even the most powerful half-step 6th level primordial ancestor can't leave here. The existence of the zone boundary can only leave. However, there is a Taoist gate to the Shattered Void Zone within the Taiku Taoist Alliance, and you can go to the Shattered Void Zone through the Taoist gate. According to the rules of the Taiku Taoist League, each Taoist ancestor has a quota and can bring a half-step 6th level primitive ancestor left the Taikuyuan area. Zubai Daozu explained. When Yi Tian heard this, he immediately understood. Zubai Daozu, can you take me to the Shattered Void region? Yi Tian asked. Zubai Daozu didn't hesitate at all, and said directly, of course, I will go to the Shattered Void area in a few years, and then the Endless Holy Ancestor will come with me. Thank you, Yi Tian said gratefully. After a period of time passed, Zubai Daozu informed Yi Tian that he could go to the Shattered Void area. Since there was only one place, Yi Tian did not bring Han Zan. Besides, he couldn't take Han Zan back to the realm where she was in her previous life without reaching the realm of the 6th level ancestor, so he could only go to the Shattered Void realm to obtain something that would allow him to condense the 9th level Dao fruit. Taiku Dao League, Taiku Junction. Zubai Daozu brought Yi Tian here, and the Daomen to the Shattered Void region was established here. Soon, Yi Tian saw the Taoist gate. There is also a certain distance between the boundary, and there is still a certain danger. More importantly, the distance between some boundaries is very far. If there is such a boundary gate, it will be much more convenient. No. We can't build such a door in the primordial region, and its core items were purchased, and it is said that it was built by a sevenfold ancestor. Zhu Baidaozu introduced. Subsequently, Zhu Baidaozu took Yi Tian through this door. And after Yi Tian and Zhu Baidaozu left, the voices of several Daozu appeared in the void. Zhu Baidaozu actually took the Endless Saint Ancestor to the Shattered Void region. The Endless Saint Ancestor and Zhu Baidaozu didn't know each other before. It shouldn't matter. I didn't expect Zhu Baidaozu to help the Endless Saint Ancestor. Haha, the potential of the Endless Holy Ancestors is infinite, and the Zhu Baidaozu likes to befriend those ancestors with great potential, and naturally he will also befriend the Endless Holy Ancestors. It's a good guy, but he has a really deep network, and he even has many friends in other districts. Forget it, don't worry about them. Fragmented virtual boundary. Yi Tian and Zhu Baidaozu came here very quickly. Heaven and earth here. Yi Tian felt the chaos. There is no complete pull between heaven and earth. This place is not suitable for cultivation, and it is impossible to give birth to a strong person. However, as Zhu Baidaozu said, if there is a primitive ancestor hiding in the broken virtual area, it is indeed difficult to find the other party, and it is necessary to use the power of the extreme pull, and most of the effects will be lost here. In addition, there are no resources here, only some 6-layer primitive ancestors come here to trade, so it is very quiet here. If a dojo is built in a corner, no one will find it for endless years. Soon, Zhu Baidaozu brought Yi Tian to a trading city. Chapter 2162 Town Stone. Trade. Open black lens bracket full order close black lens bracket. This is Julu City. It was established by 3 powerhouses at the peak of the 6th level original ancestor. It is also one of the largest trading cities in the Shattered Void area. It is very safe to trade here. Moreover, in this area, it will also be affected by huge amounts of money. The protection of Lucheng, but once you leave, there is no guarantee. Zhu Baidaozu said, and took Yi Tian into Julu City. Entering Julu City, Yi Tian sensed a lot of ordinary ancestors, and was a little surprised, but after thinking about it carefully, he understood a little. Perhaps only the 6th level primitive ancestors can enter the void shattered zone, but some 6th level primitive ancestors will bring ordinary primitive ancestors in, and after endless years, some primitive ancestors stayed here, constantly multiplying offspring, so the void shattered zone boundary. There are still some practitioners. Even if the void shattered area is not suitable for cultivation, as long as there are resources, cultivation is still not a problem. And in Julu City, it is possible to practice here, so many ancestors gathered here. However, these ordinary ancestors can only do ordinary jobs here to earn resources. There are so many original ancestors. Yi Tian was slightly surprised. As soon as he sensed it a little, he found thousands of 6-layer primitive ancestors, and how many 6-layer primitive ancestors are in the 123 realms of the entire primordial region. However, there is not even a half-step 7th level ancestor in the Taikuyuan region, and it is definitely a very weak region. After entering Julu City, Zhu Baidaozu separated from Yi Tian. He had his own affairs to deal with, but he would take Yi Tian away when he left. In the following days, Yi Tian kept inquiring about the things that were carried. It has to be said that there are quite a lot of things in Julu City, and there are also many things that can condense the 7-fold and 8-fold Dao fruits. However, things that can condense the 9-fold Dao fruit are very rare here. After all, the things that can condense the 9-fold path fruit are only useful to the primordial ancestor who has comprehended the 365 extreme paths, and it is useless to other primordial ancestors. And how rare is the primordial ancestor who has comprehended the 365 extremes, even if it does exist, almost all primordial ancestors have a strong background, and there is no shortage of such things. Therefore, there is almost no market for this kind of carrying thing in Julu City. However, there is still hope to acquire it, just ask more. Finally, Yi Cjfj Tian still inquired about the news of this carrying thing. The Changfeng Daozu of the ancient prison Dao Alliance has a bearing in his hand, the jail stone. Yi Tian learned that the prison suppressing stone is the highest level of bearing, and it can condense the 9-fold Dao fruit, which is of high value. However, the value of the prison stone is too high, so no ancestor is willing to trade the prison stone. After all, you can only condense the half-step 6th level original ancestor of the 8th level Dao fruit, and you can use other lower level bearers. It is a complete waste to use the prison stone. So, Yi Tian contacted Changfeng Daozu and wanted to trade the prison-suppressing stone in Changfeng Daozu's hands. Soon, Yi Tian saw Changfeng Daozu, the middle stage of the 6 original ancestors. Yi Tian roughly judged the cultivation base of Changfeng Daozu, and this kind of cultivation base is much stronger than Changbai Daozu and Zubai Daozu. After all, the 6th layer primordial ancestor, every small level of improvement is a huge improvement. Half-step 6 layer original ancestor. Changfeng Daozu took a look at Yi Tian, and there was a hint of contempt in his heart. He thought it was some 6th level ancestor who asked to trade with him and asked for the town stone for his younger generation, but he didn't expect it to be a half-step 6th level ancestor. I want it myself. Such a half-step 6 layer primitive ancestor, what good things can he trade with him? Boy, if you want my town stone, what kind of treasure can you come up with? Let me make it clear first, the town stone is very valuable, and I don't like ordinary treasures. Changfeng Daozu said. Changfeng Daozu, this is the Zilin flow liquid, which can improve the cultivation of the 6th level ancestor. In terms of value, it should be compared to the town stone. Yi Tian took out a Zilin flow liquid, which came from the Qinglong Daozu treasure on the body. Changfeng Daozu glanced at the Zilin River Valley and said with a chuckle, the Zilin fluid is really good, but I'm already in the middle stage of the 6th layer primordial ancestor, and it doesn't help me much. So, I don't need this stuff. Yi Tian's complexion changed. Changfeng Daozu didn't even need Zilin's liquid, so he definitely didn't need other treasures. Qinglong Daozu was originally a very weak 6th level ancestor, and except for the Daokong True Tree, there were other things on his body. The value is average. If there is no good thing, then don't waste this seat's time. Changfeng Daozu was about to leave as soon as he spoke. At this time, Yi Tian hurriedly said, I do have a treasure, and even a little help to the peak powerhouse of the 6th level original ancestor, it should be enough to exchange for the town stone. What? Changfeng Daozu asked. The Daokong True Tree fragment. Yi Tian revealed. Of course, it's a very small fragment. Daokong True Tree fragment. Changfeng Daozu was shocked. This is a really good thing. There is such a good thing in a mere half-step 6th level ancestor. Take it out and see. Changfeng Daozu asked. Yi Tian smiled and said, I can take it out, but Changfeng Daozu, you have to take out the town area stone and show it to me. 1. Can. Changfeng Daozu agreed with his mouth, but he was a little angry in his heart. Soon, Changfeng Daozu took out the town stone, and Yi Tian also came out with the fragments of the Daokong True Tree. Yi Tian won't take out all the branches of the Daokong True Tree. This branch is a treasure that can make a large number of 6-layer primitive ancestors fight desperately. The small town stone can't be exchanged for these, so he only intercepted the finger-length Dao. Empty tree fragments. Sure enough, it is a fragment of the Daokong True Tree, but unfortunately there is only so much. Changfeng Daozu said regretfully. Changfeng Daozu, are you willing to trade? Yi Tian asked. Can trade. Changfeng Daozu agreed. Immediately, Yi Tian traded with Changfeng Daozu. After Yi Tian left with the Zhenyu stone, a strange smile appeared on Changfeng Daozu's face. I only took a small piece of Daokong True Tree fragment, I thought I couldn't see it, there must be a lot of Daoism on this little guy. Fragments of the empty true tree, but it cannot be a complete Dao empty true tree. But even so, if I grab it, it will help me a lot. Even if I don't need it now, I can trade it for a lot of resources. However, he did not immediately take action against Yi Tian, so this is Julu City, and even he did not dare to disobey the orders of the 3 6-layer primordial peak powerhouses. After Yi Tian left Julu City, he shot to kill Yi Tian again. Of course, he had to find out if there was a 6th-level ancestor behind Yi Tian. Chapter 2163 Breakthrough, the 6 Original Ancestors. Open black lens bracket seeking full order close black lens bracket. Changfeng Daozu is afraid that he suspects that I have more Daokong Junshu on me. 1. Yi Tian secretly said, but he didn't regret taking out the Daokong True Tree. After all, in that case, if he didn't take out the Daokong True Tree, Changfeng Daozu would not be able to take out the town stone to trade with him. Now that the town stone is in hand, even if Changfeng Daozu has the intention of attacking him, it doesn't matter. He is not afraid of everything. My current strength is not the opponent of Changfeng Daozu, and Zubai Daozu is not the opponent of Changfeng Daozu. I should stay here in Julu City first, and then use the town stone to condense the Dao heart. If the Dao heart is successfully condensed, I can attack the 6th Chongdao ancestor realm. Yi Tian murmured. So, he rented a dojo here, and began to retreat and practice here to gather his mind. Dao Shin is the core of what it carries, and integrates into all kinds of extremes. If other half-step 6th-layer primitive ancestors, there is a high possibility of failure in condensing Dao heart, and the failure rate of condensing Dao fruit is even higher. However, Yi Tian himself has a 50% chance of succeeding in attacking the original ancestor of the 6th layer. It is very simple for him to gather Dao heart, and it is unlikely that he will fail. However, Yi Tian continued to learn about the experience of other half-step 6th-layer primitive ancestors in condensing the Dao heart. After a thorough understanding, he began to condense the Dao heart. Let's start. Yi Tian took out the township stone and blended it into his body, and then urged the 365 extremes to merge into the township stone, thus forging the heart of the Dao. This process is slow and takes a long time to be successful. Time passed slowly, and after a period of time, Zhu Baidaozu came over and said that he was leaving. At this time, Yi Tian is naturally impossible to leave. Zhu Baidaozu, you should leave first, I am gathering Dao heart. Yi Tian said. Seeing this, Zhu Baidaozu could only leave first, and then come to pick up Yi Tian later. After all, the experience of condensing Dao has been a long time, and he has to go back to the primordial planes to have something to do. In the blink of an eye, the era of the 100,000 yuan era passed. Yi Tian doesn't know how much power of the extreme way has been integrated into it, divided into such a long time, and finally is about to completely condense the heart of the debut. And the town stone has long since disappeared, turning into a group of Dao hearts formed by the fusion of infinite extreme power. Although the mind of the Dao is illusory, it is the foundation of the fruit of the Dao. If you can't gather the heart of the Dao, you can't achieve the fruit of the Dao. This day, the Dao heart was successfully condensed, and Yi Tian's body also began to undergo a weak transformation, and he even had a faint 6th-level ancestral aura on his body. At this moment, he is really only the last step away from the 6th-layer original ancestor. The next step is to hit the realm of the 6 original ancestors. Yi Tian is not going to break through in Julu City. This is not suitable for breaking through, because the original Black Sea of the Shattered Void region has long been broken, forming countless fragments, the energy is not pure, and the extreme path is chaotic. Therefore, he is still preparing to make a breakthrough in the primordial Black Sea, which is the boundary of the primordial plains region. Once the breakthrough is successful, he will replace the replica body in Julu City to create a replica body of the 6th-layer original ancestor realm. At that time, he left Julu City with the realm of the 6th-level ancestor. If Changfeng Daozu attacked him, he would really be courting death. Maybe, he can get the full net worth of a 6th-level ancestor again. Taikuyuan area boundary. Yi Tian arranged a magic circle, and in the primordial Black Sea area near the Sea of Origin, gathered a large amount of primordial Black Sea energy and turned it into a continent. Then Yi Tian began to break through the realm of the 6th-level ancestor on this continent. With a 50% chance, I won't waste the light of Taishuan and Zishuan, and I will directly attack. If the breakthrough fails, I will recopy my body and attack again. Yi Tian muttered. Soon, the shock begins. Yi Tian absorbed the endless energy, merged into the Dao heart, and began to condense the Dao fruit. Time passed slowly, and before you knew it, tens of thousands of yuan eras passed. At this time, Yi Tian found that the critical moment was coming, and if he succeeded, the Dao fruit would be condensed. If it fails, the Dao fruit condensation will fail, and this body will be severely injured. The Dao fruit began to form, and countless extreme powers began to be absorbed by the Dao fruit. The Dao fruit is conceived from within the Dao heart, absorbing the power of the Dao heart. Gradually, the Dao heart begins to wither and dissipate, and all the energy is turned into a part of the Dao fruit. And countless energies from the outside world are also integrated into Yi Tian's body, and even this continent transformed from the original Black Sea energy was absorbed into Yi Tian's body. Ask for flowers. Immediately, Yi Tian also prepared a lot of resources to absorb and refine them one by one. Unexpected, a small Dao fruit was born. Success. Yi Tian said excitedly. Although the Dao fruit has not been completely stabilized, and it is still very small, it has already represented Yi Tian's success. The next step is to absorb energy and gradually strengthen the Dao fruit. There will be no surprises. This time is good, a one-time success. Yi Tian continued to practice hard, absorb energy, and strengthen his own Dao fruit. This step took tens of thousands of yuan years, and this was the fruit of successful cultivation. And then, Yi Tian's body began to transform, from the half-step 6th-level ancestor to the 6th-level ancestor, and the strength skyrocketed at an incredible speed. Almost every breath, his strength skyrocketed. After a long time, his strength has far surpassed the time of the half-step 6th level ancestor. On this day, Yi Tian's cultivation was completely stable at the early stage of the half-step 6th level primitive ancestor. Breakthrough, it's time to replace the replica body in Julu City with a replica body in the realm of the 6 original ancestors. Yi Tian decided. Julu City. Yi Tian didn't need to re-attack. He directly copied the cloned body of the 6th level original ancestor, and then this half-step 6th level original ancestor's cloned body directly annihilated itself, and the items on his body were also collected by the 6th level original ancestor's cloned body. Up. In this way, he silently became the original ancestor of the 6th layer, and Changfeng Daozu would be dumbfounded after knowing it. Afterwards, Yi Tian restrained his breath and concealed the realm of his 6th level ancestor as much as possible. It's time to go back. If Changfeng Daozu dares to attack me, he will be dead. Yi Tian quickly left Julu City. The endless holy ancestor has finally left Julu City. There is a white Taoist behind him, and he has already left. There is no problem in killing him. Changfeng Daozu followed immediately, and after preparing to leave the area of Julu City, he immediately killed Yi Tian. Soon, they went out of Julu City. At this time, Changfeng Daozu directly intercepted Yi Tian, and he was about to do it. Corpse. Chapter 2164 Kill Changfeng Daozu. Open black lens bracket full order close black lens bracket. Go to hell, little one. 1. Changfeng Daozu's sleeves were rolled up, and the surrounding time and space shrank like a picture scroll in an instant, while Yi Tian was in the center of the picture scroll, compressed by layers of time and space picture scrolls. If it was a half-step 6th level ancestor, he would naturally have no resistance. Even Yi Tian, who had not broken through before, would be very difficult to resist this move, and it would be very difficult. After all, Changfeng Daozu's strength far exceeds that of ordinary 6-layer primitive ancestors in the early stage, and his combat power is naturally strong. Boom! Countless golden lights erupted from Yi Tian's body, and countless space-time scrolls shattered. Yi Tian is unscathed. What? The early stage of the 6th layer original ancestor. Changfeng Daozu was dumbfounded. Yi Tian was obviously a half-step 6th level ancestor before, why did he suddenly become a 6th level ancestor? If it is said that Yi Tian used the township stone to condense the Dao heart and hit the 1, 2, 3 realm of the 6th level original ancestor, he could not have noticed such a big movement of the 6th level Taoist ancestor. But Yi Tian broke through from the half-step 6th level ancestor to the 6th level ancestor silently, which was completely beyond his expectations. Even if it is the original ancestor of the 6th layer, I can still kill you. Changfeng Daozu said coldly. However, the next moment, his pupils shrank. Boom! The endless black domain was displayed by Yi Tian. Even Changfeng Daozu was suppressed at this moment, completely restrained, and his strength was suppressed a lot. In an instant, Yi Tian displayed the endless speed to kill. The speed was too fast, completely surpassing Changfeng Daozu's imagination. Endless golden light. The golden light ripped apart endless time and space, and slashed with unimaginable power. There are countless dense scales on Changfeng Daozu's body, which is also a perfection-level natal primordial control skill created by him. However, it couldn't stop Yi Tian's endless golden light, and was torn apart directly. With one blow, Changfeng Daozu's body was pierced. Then, countless golden lights shattered Changfeng Daozu's extreme will particles, and just one blow annihilated 30% of his extreme will particles. Do not. Changfeng Daozu was terrified, and if he attacked again 3 times, he would be dead. He is a powerhouse in the middle stage of the 6th level original ancestor, and he is not far from the late stage of the 6th level original ancestor. Even if he encounters a powerhouse in the later stage of the 6th level original ancestor, it will not be so miserable. It can even be said that a peak powerhouse of the 6th layer original ancestor, if you want to kill him, it is impossible to only need a few tricks. After all, in the realm of the 6th layer primitive ancestor, which one is not a demon? Which one is not capable of life-saving? However, Yi Tian still managed to kill him with a few tricks. What a terrifying strength. In his eyes, Yi Tian seems to be even more terrifying than the average 6th layer original ancestor peak powerhouse. This is totally unreasonable. Buzz. Countless golden lights descended again, annihilating Changfeng Daozu's extreme will particles again. He wanted to escape, and many methods were used, but none of them could break the shackles of the endless black domain, and he could only wait for death. Yi Tian's attack speed was too fast, so the 3 attacks seemed to be completed in an instant. Nearly all the will of the extreme way was annihilated, Changfeng Daozu completely lost the hope of life, and the last particles of the extreme way of will were easily crushed by the endless black domain. So far, Changfeng Daozu has completely fallen. Wow! Countless treasures flew out from Changfeng Daozu's body and fell into Yi Tian's hands. There are really many treasures. Yi Tian smiled. Moreover, the small piece of Daokong True Tree fragment he gave to Changfeng Daozu before is also here. In addition, he actually found a second prison stone. As expected of a powerhouse in the middle stage of the 6th layer original ancestor, his net worth far surpasses that of the Azure Dragon Dao ancestor. Yi Tian exclaimed. However, even if he possesses all the net worth of Qinglong Daozu and Changfeng Daozu, it is not enough to quickly improve his cultivation to the mid-level realm of the 6th layer primitive ancestor. But in any case, he is not poor among the original ancestors of the early stage of the 6th layer. It's time to go back, Yi Tian muttered. After becoming the original ancestor of the 6th layer, his extreme will has already crossed the category of the boundary, as if he is detached, he can perceive the void beyond the boundary. He even sensed the existence of the Taikuyuan region boundary, and he could directly cross to the Taikuyuan region boundary. Certainly, Yi Tian still wanted to go back directly through the Dao gate of the primordial region, which would be more convenient. The Daomen has a fixed area, enter that fixed area, communicate with the Daomen, and then you can shuttle back. Certainly, Yi Tian has not yet joined the Taiku Daoist alliance, so he cannot have the authority to activate the Daoist gate. Go straight across the border and go back, Yi Tian decided. Boom! Yi Tian passed through the silent Black Sea between the masters of the district boundary, and the silent Black Sea connected with the initial Black Seas, but it was even more strange. There will occasionally appear some incomparably terrifying primitive relics in various forms, some of which are even comparable to the 6th-layer primitive ancestor. Of course, as long as it's not too unlucky, you won't encounter too powerful primitive antiquities, and there have not been several 6th-layer primitive ancestors killed by primitive antiquities. After entering the silent Black Sea, Yi Tian felt the situation of this silent Black Sea. The suppression here is very strong, and it is full of strange atmosphere. According to what I know, it is best not to stay in the silent Black Sea for too long, otherwise it will be easy to attract very powerful primitive relics, so no one of the 6 original ancestors dares to build a dojo in the silent Black Sea. There is no 6 original ancestors. Zhu dared to stay for a long time on purpose, otherwise it would be very dangerous. Yi Tian muttered. He sensed the orientation of the primordial plains area boundary, and then directly crossed the silent Black Sea and walked away. Time passed slowly, and soon he encountered the first primitive antiquities. This primitive antiquity turned out to be an ancient scroll, shrouded in 5.9, imprisoned layer by layer, and its strength was second only to the weaker 6th-layer primitive ancestor. But for the half-step 6th-layer primitive ancestor, this primitive antiquity is extremely terrifying, and it is definitely an existence that cannot be provoked. Die. Yi Tian used Taichu Fist, without even using the endless golden light. He directly smashed this primitive ancient artifact with one punch, killing it in one blow. And after this primitive antiquity was killed in seconds, it dissipated directly, leaving nothing behind. Yi Tian has long understood that after these primitive antiquities are killed, they will dissipate, leaving no treasures. On the next journey, Yi Tian killed several primitive relics, and finally arrived at the location of the Taikuyuan area boundary. Shout out! Yi Tian tore the barrier of the primordial plains area boundary and entered a primordial Black Sea where the Taikuyuan area boundary was located. He is back. Chapter 2165 Join the Taiku Daoist Alliance. Open black lens bracket seeking full order close black lens bracket. Taiku Dao League headquarters. This day, Yi Tian came here, and naturally immediately caught the attention of the Taiku Dao League. A strange 6-fold ancestor. Who is this guy? He is the infinite patriarch of the Void Fang Saint sect of the Upper Spirit region. No, it should be called the Infinity Dao Patriarch now. When did Endless Daozu break through to the realm of the 6th layer original ancestor? Didn't he follow Zubai Daozu to the Shattered Void realm, and then Zubai Daozu came back? He stayed in the Shattered Void zone by himself, but he came back by himself. He also became the original ancestor of the 6th layer. The breakthrough of the Endless Dao ancestor is a good thing. It means that the strength of our primordial plains region has increased, making up for the losses caused by the fall of the Qinglong Dao ancestor. Moreover, the Endless Dao ancestor's strength is even stronger. Soon, Zubai Daozu also knew the news that Yi Tian had become the original ancestor of the 6th layer, and came immediately. When Zubai Daozu came to the headquarters of the Taiku Dao League and saw Yi Tian, he said with emotion, "Endless Daozu, I didn't expect you to break through so quickly. Did you successfully condense the ninefold Dao Fruit 29? Yes, by luck," Yi Tian said modestly. Zhu Baidaozu was secretly surprised, although he knew that Yi Tian had traded the prison-suppressing stone that was enough to condense the 9th-level Dao Fruit, but whether he could successfully condense the 9th-level Dao Fruit still depended on his own background and foundation. Endless Dao Ancestor, I really envy you. With the ninefold Dao Fruit, the future potential is too great. Maybe there is a real hope to become the 7th-layer Dao Patriarch. Zhu Baidaozu said with envy. At this time, Yi Tian asked curiously, "Zhu Baidaozu, how many 6th-level ancestors are there in our Taikuyuan region?" Zhu Baidaozu said, "How do you say it? If you say that there are 6th-layer ancestors who can still be contacted now, there are a total of 52 statues, and those who have been missing for a long time will naturally not be counted. At present, those who are still stationed in the Taikuyuan area for a long time are not. There are only 26 primordial ancestors of the 6th level, and the other 6 primordial ancestors do not stay in the Taikuyuan area." After Yi Tian traded with Zhu Baidaozu, he had a general understanding of the strength of the Taiku Dao League. For example, most of the Dao Patriarchs of the Taiku Dao League are in the early stage of the 6th-level original ancestor, and there are only 5 Daoist ancestors who have reached the middle stage of the 6th-level original ancestor. As for the Daoist ancestors in the late stage of the 6th-level original ancestor, except for the mysterious Taigu Daoist, there is really no one. Zhu Baidaozu, is Taigu Daozu missing? Yi Tian asked curiously. Yes, Zhu Baidaozu nodded, it can't be regarded as missing. It can only be said that Taiku Daozu went to a place that we can't go, and we don't know if he has fallen. But when Taiku Daozu left, he cultivated it has reached the late stage of the 6th-level original ancestor, and its combat power is extremely powerful. At that time, the ancient original region boundary was incomparably powerful in the dozens of nearby original regions. The ancient Daoist ancestor could suppress countless 6. It is a pity that after the Taiku Daozu disappeared, the prestige of the Taikuyuan area has dropped again and again, and now it has become a weak area. Not long after, several Dao ancestors came, and this officially went through the formalities for Yi Tian to join the Taiku Dao Alliance, and let Yi Tian leave a mark on the Dao sect, so that he could obtain the use authority of the Dao sect. Soon, Yi Tian became the original ancestor of the 6th layer, and the news of joining the Taiku Dao League spread throughout the entire Taikuyuan region. For this news, many half-step 6th-level ancestors are not surprised, but they are surprised that Yi Tian has become the 6th-level ancestor so quickly, the speed is too fast. Upper Spirit Realm, Ascension to the Holy Door. At this time, after the Holy Ancestor of Shengeling got Yi Tian to break through to become the 6th-level ancestor, he could not help sighing. I thought back then, I wanted to challenge the Endless Daoist ancestor, but in a blink of an eye, he broke through to the 6th-level ancestor, and I haven't yet. No progress at all. Yes, he hasn't made any progress so far, and he still hasn't integrated another will clone. In fact, he also gave up to continue to integrate the will clone, but he also failed once to condense the Dao heart. He can't even see the hope of becoming the original ancestor of the 6th level, compared with Yi Tian easily becoming the original ancestor of the 6th level, it is simply too shocking. The Holy Door of Void Fang. The Holy Sect of the Void Fang and the Holy Ancestor of the Tooth are very excited. Ha 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 ha, our Void Fang Holy Sect gave birth to a 6th-layer ancestor. They are naturally very clear about what a 6th-layered ancestor represents. From today onwards, the Void Fang Sacred Gate will become the only 6th-layer sacred sect in the upper spirit realm, completely crushing the other 5th-layer sacred sect. As for the other Holy Sons of the Void Fang Holy Sect, as well as many half-step 5-level ancestors, when they heard the news at this moment, they were completely dumbfounded. What's going on? Obviously they are geniuses at the same time, why are they still in the realm of the 4th-level ancestor, or the half-step 5th-level ancestor, but Yi Tian has crossed over to the 6th-level ancestor and became the only 6th-level ancestor in the upper spirit realm. The genius who was in the same era as Yi Tian was undoubtedly too hidden and could not be compared at all. Master, have you become the original ancestor of the 6th layer? Han Zan said in surprise. Yes, after I have completely stabilized the realm, we can set off. Yi Tian said. Great, Han Zan said happily. Originally, she thought that it would take a long time for her master to break through to become the original ancestor of the 6th layer, but she broke through so quickly, which was completely beyond her expectations. After a period of time, Yi Tian completely stabilized the realm, and then prepared to go to the Tongtianyuan area. There are several boundaries between the Taikuyuan area and the Tongtianyuan area, and the daemon of the Taiku daemon cannot connect to the Tongtianyuan area. In fact, the daemon cannot go to other areas except for the broken virtual area and some special places. For example, the Taikuyuan region boundary does not have a sect connected to other boundaries, because other boundaries do not agree, and if it is the Taikuyuan region boundary, it will not agree. If the Taoist gates are allowed to connect one after another, the other party's Tao ancestors can easily cross over at any time, and can even continuously transport half-step 6-layer primitive ancestors, which will naturally have an impact on their own boundaries. Therefore, the Taoist ancestors in the districts are very strict with their own districts. If they want to go to other districts, they can only honestly cross the silent Black Sea. Teacher, we will directly cross the silent Black Sea, we will not transfer, we will go directly to the boundary of Tongtianyuan. Yi Tian said. Han Zan said, Master, if you cross directly, if you don't make a transfer, you will spend a long time in the silent Black Sea. What if you attract a very powerful primitive antiquity? Don't worry, your teacher respects me very fast, it won't take long, and the danger is not big. Yi Tian said. Chapter 2166 The Original Ancients. Open black lens bracket seeking full order close black lens bracket. Silent Black Sea. Yi Tian took Han Zan to shuttle here. This time, he followed Han Zan's body, not his will clone, because after the 6th level original ancestor, the will clone couldn't leave the boundary, and once it left, it would collapse directly. After all, the 6th layer primitive ancestor did not detach from the boundary at once, and could not perceive the situation outside the boundary. Once he left the boundary, he would also cut off all connections. The will clone must have a slight connection with the main body in order to maintain it, otherwise it will collapse. Therefore, Yi Tian could only carry Han Zan's body. At this time, Han Zan was a little nervous. Although she was very powerful in her previous life, she was worried that she would really fall. Silent Black Sea is too dangerous, if Shizun can't protect her, she will be finished. Soon, they encountered a primitive ancient relic, which was in the form of a dead tree, and its strength was not bad. It was second only to the weaker 6th level primitive ancestor, and was instantly killed by Yi Tian. On the next journey, they encountered several primitive antiquities, all of which were killed by Yi Tian. In this way, Yi Tian and Han Zan are getting closer and closer to the boundary of Tongtianyuan area. Unexpected, above the silent Black Sea, energy surged, and the black light seemed to turn into a hurricane. Seeing this scene, Han Zan's expression changed. Master, it's not good, this is the ancient people who are about to appear, and they are about to escape into the surrounding area. The original ancients. Yi Tian naturally also knew about this primitive ancient artifact. Although he did not understand it very well, he also knew that some of the primitive ancient artifact appeared in the form of human beings. They were called primitive ancient people. The key is that the ancient people of the primitive era will always hunt down the primitive ancestors, the kind that will never die. Therefore, many 6-layer primitive ancestors encountered primitive ancients and would flee to the nearby boundary, so that primitive ancients would not be able to chase and kill, and would leave silently. After a period of time, the 6th-layer primordial ancestor can enter the silent Black Sea again, and he will not encounter the primordial ancients. The strength of the primordial ancients varies from strong to weak, but the weakest is comparable to the middle stage of the general 6-fold primordial ancestor. The general Taoist ancestors of the 6-fold primordial early stage would not dare to provoke the weakest primordial ancients. There is no hope of escape. But the probability of a 6th-level primitive ancestor encountering the primitive ancients is very low, unless it is in the silent Black Sea for a long time, it is possible to encounter it. But Yi Tian and Han Zan didn't enter the silent Black Sea for a long time, and they encountered the original ancient people, so their luck was really bad. The nearest district boundary is also far from here, and it is too late to go to other district boundaries too. Yi Tian said. Han Zan was very panicked. After all, she didn't have the strength of her previous life, so she couldn't do anything, so she could only rely on Master. A black figure emerged from the black hurricane, advancing rapidly in a strange way, approaching Yi Tian's side. Endless black domain. Repression. Yi Tian shot directly, and when he shot, he went all out. After all, he still had Han Zan with him, so naturally he couldn't let Han Zan get hurt, otherwise he could kill Han Zan with a little aftermath. Under the suppression of the endless black domain, the speed of this primitive ancient man was limited, but it was still very fast. However, Yi Tian's infinite speed was even faster, making this primitive ancient person unable to catch up. And Yi Tian attacked with endless golden light, smashing the body of the original ancient man again and again, but it quickly recovered. So hard to kill. Yi Tian was a little surprised. Although he knew that the original ancient people were not weak, he did not know that the original ancient people were so difficult to kill. In terms of strength, this primordial ancient man is comparable to the ordinary 6-layer middle-stage primordial ancestor, and his strength is not as good as the Changfeng Daozu who was killed by him. However, he killed Changfeng Daozu with a few strokes, but this primitive ancient man was attacked dozens of times by him in a short period of time, and he has not been killed yet. Master, the primordial ancients are very difficult to kill, and their resilience is very fast. It is much harder to kill than the 6th-layer primordial ancestor. Han Zan said. But, Yi Tian attacked the primitive ancients while advancing towards the boundary of the Tongtianyuan area. Finally, after attacking hundreds of thousands of times, he finally killed this primitive ancient man. Moreover, Yi Tian also found a black bead where the original ancients fell. Master actually killed a primitive ancient man. Han Zan was shocked. You must know that even the weakest primordial ancients must at least be killed by a strong man at the peak of the fourfold primordial ancestor. After all, the primitive ancients are like undead, it is too difficult to kill. But now, his master has just broken through to become the original ancestor of the 6th layer, and he actually killed a primitive ancient man. Could it be that the master has comprehended the 365 extreme extremes, created the supreme primordial control technique, and made a breakthrough with the supreme primal control technique? Han Zan thought to herself. Although she was very strong in her previous life, she is very weak now, so she cannot see through the attack methods of the 6th layer primitive ancestor, so she cannot judge. But from the point of view of strength, Yi Tian is afraid that he has really understood the 365 extreme extremes, and has become the original ancestor of the 6th layer in the most extreme way, and the condensed is afraid that it is the fruit of the 9th layer. Her previous life was not comparable to Yi Tian's potential, otherwise she would not be reincarnated. The Taiku Yuan area is not strong. It is rumored that Taiku Daozu is a primitive ancestor who has comprehended 365 extreme extremes. I didn't expect another one to be born. 1. Han Zan said secretly. She feels that her master is afraid that there is a big chance, otherwise it is impossible to have such potential in a place like the Taikuyuan region. I'm lucky to have such a master not long after I was reincarnated, and I'll have a backer in the future. Han Zan thought to herself. Teacher, what kind of servant is this? Yi Tian asked with the bead left behind after the death of the primitive ancients. This is the primordial ancient pearl. Han Zan introduced. Killing the primordial ancient, if you get it, you can get the primordial ancient pearl in his body. The primordial ancient pearl is very valuable, and it can be used to heal wounds. The Qinglong Daozu killed by the master, and the Dao fruit of Qinglong Daozu is broken. Such injuries are difficult to recover, but the original ancient beads can restore the Dao fruit. In addition, the original ancient beads can also be refined during the battle, with similar to the original ancient beads. It is very difficult to kill with the methods of the ancients. However, when the power of the original ancient beads is exhausted, there is no way to use it again. It seems that this thing is really a good thing. If you kill a lot of primitive ancients, you will make a lot of money. Yi Tian murmured. Han Zan's expression changed, and she reminded, Master, you can't have such an idea. Some powerful primordial ancients are even comparable to the half-step 7th level primordial ancestor, and there may even exist primordial ancients that are comparable to the 7th level primordial ancestor. I'm just saying, let's go, move on, it should be about to reach the boundary of Tongtianyuan area. Yi Tian said. Chapter 2167 Come to Tongtianyuan area. Open black lens bracket seeking full order close black lens bracket. Tongtianyuan area boundary. Yi Tian brought Han Zan here, and after tearing through the barriers of the Tongtian original region, he entered the original Black Sea region of the Tongtian original region, and hid his aura. After all, he belongs to an outsider. If he is discovered by the 6-layered ancestors here, it is naturally not good. Moreover, according to Han Zan's introduction, the Tongtian Yuanyuan area is very powerful, and there are even more than one half-step 7th level ancestor. His current strength can't compete with a half-step 7th level ancestor. Therefore, after arriving at the Tongtianyuan area, you still have to keep a low profile. Master, the area boundary of Tongtian original area is different from that of Taiku original area. The area of Taiku original area is divided according to each high original area, but there is no gap between the original Black Sea area of Tongtian original area, but the whole Tongtian area is not the same. The original area is surrounded by a large formation. The most central area contains the original Black Sea energy is extremely rich, and the resources here are also the most abundant, while the resources in the peripheral areas are very poor. According to energy and resources, the entire Tongtianyuan area is only divided into 3 realms, the upper realm, the middle realm and the lower realm. Almost 123 realms were born in the middle realm, while countless lower realms were born in the lower realm. Han Zan introduced Yi Tian carefully. Where are the resources from your previous life? Yi Tian asked curiously. The lower realm, the original realm of Beihei. Han Zan introduced. The reason why she was placed in the nether was because the nether area was the largest, so she felt that the probability of being born in the nether area was relatively high, so she put all the resources of her previous life in the nether. She feels that after she has cultivated to the realm of the triple primitive ancestor, she can go to the lower realm to take resources. Who would have thought that he would be directly reincarnated in the primordial realm region? Fortunately, she is back now. You lead the way, we will go directly to Beihei Yuan. Yi Tian said. Okay, master. Han Zan took Yi Tian to Beihei Yuan, the lower boundary of Tongtianyuan. North River area. This is a very weak and low-level original domain, not even as good as the original Sea of Origin. It stands to reason that the Tongtianyuan area is so powerful, even the lower Yuanyuan should be very powerful. However, the Tongtianyuan area concentrates the energy of the entire original Black Sea in the upper bound area of the Tongtianyuan area boundary, which makes the original Black Sea area in the lower bound too barren. The original Black Sea energy is the source of the energy of the lower original realm, although the practitioners of the lower original realm do not reach the realm of the first level original ancestor and cannot enter the original Black Sea, which seems to have little impact. But the resources of the entire low-level original domain are scarce, and the probability of the birth of the strong is very low. Moreover, the Taikuyuan area is an area that has been neglected, and the eyes of the upper realm do not pay attention to this place at all, resulting in almost no inheritance here. For example, in Beihei Yuan, there is not even a first-level primitive ancestor, but there are dozens of pseudo-primitive ancestors. And Han Zan hid the resources here in his previous life, and it was impossible for the practitioners in the Northern River region to find out. Soon, Yi Tian and Han Zan came to the Northern River region and entered here without a sound, and those pseudo-primitive ancestors couldn't find it. Han Zan determined the location and took Yi Tian to a forbidden area in the Northern River region. In the forbidden area, she took out a void ball hidden in a special time and space. Master, the thing is still there, I got it. Han Zan said excitedly. That's good. Yi Tian nodded slightly. He did not ask what treasures Han Zan left behind in his previous life. No matter what treasures there are, they are also Han Zan's treasures. Master, this is filial piety to you. Han Zan took out some resources and gave them to Yi Tian. Really for me? Yi Tian said with a smile. Of course, Master, your cultivation base has improved and your strength has become stronger, so that you can protect me. Moreover, if I want to become the original ancestor of the 6th layer, I don't know how many long years it will take. CJFJ, these resources are now fundamentally no use. Han Zan said. Okay, then I'll take it, just in time to accelerate the impact on the mid-level realm of the 6th layer primitive ancestor. 1. Yi Tian accepted this gift. Yi Tian and Han Zan didn't plan to leave the Tongtianyuan area. After all, Han Zan was more familiar with the Tongtianyuan area and naturally wanted to stay here. And Yi Tian doesn't need to go back, he has several duplicate bodies, so it is also a good choice to let one duplicate body stay in the Tongtian original area. The key is that the Tongtianyuan area is more powerful, and there is even a half-step 7-fold original ancestor. And there is not even a half-step 7th level ancestor in the Taikuyuan region, and the Taiku Dao League has no inheritance on how to advance to the half-step 7 level ancestor. Therefore, if Yi Tian wants to become the ancestor of the half-step 7th level ancestor, he has to rely on the boundary of the Tongtianyuan region. In the following years, Yi Tian and Han Zan entered the upper realm, built a dojo in the original Black Sea area of the upper realm, and practiced in the dojo. And Han Zan's body is also practicing in the dojo, but the will clone went to Tongtianyuan area to practice. Years passed by, and in the following years, Yi Tian worked hard to refine resources to improve his cultivation. With a large supply of resources, Yi Tian's cultivation is not slow to improve. And Han Zan is also comprehending all kinds of extremes. She has obtained the resources prepared in her previous life. Among them, there are many treasures that can improve the understanding of more extreme extremes, and even some of these treasures are enough to make the original ancestors of the 6th level peak. With the help of these treasures, Hanzon gradually understood more extreme extremes. Although it was still very difficult to understand the 365 extreme extremes, at least she saw great hope. Before you know it, another million years of the original era have passed. 300s, it's the most extreme way. Hanzon was very excited. In her previous life, she had only understood 272 extreme extremes, but in this life, she has already understood 333 extreme extremes. Even if she is now the 4th ancestor, her potential is beyond her previous life. However, if you don't understand the 365 extreme extremes, it will still be of little use and will not be able to form a qualitative improvement. I still have to comprehend the 365 extreme extremes as much as possible. I thought I had prepared enough in my previous life, but I didn't expect to use a lot of resources, but it is still a little far from the 365 extreme extremes. I underestimated the difficulty of comprehending the 365 extreme extremes. Hanzon thought secretly. But if you think about it carefully, it is normal. If it is so easy to comprehend the 365 extreme extremes, there will not be only one evildoer who understands the 365 extreme extremes. That's right, there is only one primordial ancestor who has comprehended the 365 extreme extremes, which is the same as that of the primordial area before, but now it is not as good as the primordial area. Because there are 2 primordial ancestors in the Taikuyuan area who have comprehended 365 extreme extremes. Chapter 2168. In the middle stage of the 6th layer original ancestor, the strength has skyrocketed. Time flies, and before you know it, another long time has passed. And Hanzon's progress was getting slower and slower. She exhausted all the resources she had left over from her previous life that could help her understand the extreme extremes, and finally realize the 361 extreme extremes. And there are still 4 extreme extremes left, and she feels that it is more difficult than before. The key is that she has not comprehended the resources of these 4 extreme extremes now, relying on her own talent to comprehend the last 4 extreme extremes. I am afraid that it will take time in units of era of Yuan to slowly understand. If you want to quickly understand the remaining 4 extreme extremes, it seems that you must go to that place. In Hanzon's mind, a place in the upper boundary of the Tongtianyuan area, the Golden Bone, the mountain boundary appeared. The Golden Bone mountain realm is very special. It not only contains many resources, but also has a special place called the Golden Light Field. Once a special golden light is captured, it can be absorbed and refined in a short period of time, and one can quickly comprehend the extreme extremes. Certainly, this special golden light is very rare, and if it is not refined for a long time, it will lose its effect. In addition, only the 3-layer primitive ancestor can comprehend the extreme path, so the 4th layer primitive ancestor will not go to the golden light territory and is not allowed to enter there. Those Taoist ancestors in the Tongtianyuan area blocked the golden light area, and opened it after a certain time. With my strength, if I enter the golden light territory, I can definitely sweep the other 3 ancestors, but the premise is that I enter the Golden Bone Mountain realm first. Hanzon knew very well that with the strength of her own triple primordial ancestor, she would not be able to reach the Golden Bone Mountain realm at all. Without a Taoist ancestor leading her, she would not be able to break into the Golden Bone Mountain realm. The Golden Bone Mountain realm is also blocked by layers. Without the strength of Daozu, you can only watch others enter. I still have to ask Master for help, Hanzon thought to herself. So, she immediately went to Yi Tian. Master. 1. Hanzon came to Yi Tian. What? Yi Tian asked. Hanzon said her request directly without hiding anything. Golden Bone Mountain Realm, if the golden light of the golden light domain is helpful to you, then I will take you there. 1. Yi Tian said. Thank you Master, Hanzon said quickly. Afterwards, Yi Tian took Hanzon to the Golden Bone Mountain Realm. The Golden Bone Mountain Realm is located in a special area near the Kongoyuan area of the Tongtianyuan area, the upper realm of the upper realm, but the Jinguyuan area cannot keep the Golden Bone Mountain Realm, so it is jointly occupied by many major forces, and no one can own the gold alone. Bone Mountain. The real value of the Golden Bone Mountain Realm is not only the Golden Light territory, but also many precious resources, and even many items that are valuable to the 6th layer primitive ancestor. Of course, the resources born in the Golden Bone Mountain Realm are not too many, and there are a lot of 6th layer primitive ancestors in the Tongtianyuan area, so they can't be supplied at all. Therefore, there are not many 6th-layer primitive ancestors staying in the Golden Bone Mountain realm at ordinary times, and they will only come unless precious resources are born. This day, Yi Tian took Yi Tian into the Golden Bone Mountain realm, and after inquiring about it, he knew that the Golden Light Domain had not yet been opened. After all, it is impossible for the Golden Light Domain to be turned on often, and it will only be turned on after a concentrated period of time. And now there are still 1.3 million Yuan era before the opening time. Although it is a long time for the triple primitive ancestors, they can also wait. So, Yi Tian and Han Zan practiced in the Golden Bone Mountain realm. Yi Tian is not the 6th-level ancestor of the Tongtian Yuan area, so his appearance has attracted the attention of many 6th-level ancestors. But if he didn't cause trouble, those 6th-level ancestors would not trouble him. After all, some 6th-level ancestors in the Tongtian original area were themselves 6th-level ancestors of other original areas, and they directly chose to join them later. Tongtianyuan area boundary, and Tongtianyuan area boundary is also the core of several nearby area boundaries. Time passed slowly, Yi Tian's resources continued to be consumed, but the cultivation base was also getting closer and closer to the middle stage of the 6th-layer primitive ancestor. At this time, Yi Tian was also quite excited. If he becomes the middle stage of the 6th-level ancestor, his strength will definitely surpass those of the peak powerhouse of the 6th-level ancestor, but it is estimated that he still cannot compete with the half-step 7th-level ancestor. The gap between the original ancestor of the 6th-level peak and the original ancestor of the half-step 7th level is too great. Any one of the ancestors of the half-step 7th level ancestor has mastered the Yuan Dao. Yuan Dao is above the extreme road. Once mastered the Yuan Dao, how terrifying the strength is. Yi Tian has never played against the half-step 7th level primordial ancestor, but he also knows that the strength of the half-step 7th level primordial ancestor can definitely easily kill the top 6th level peak primordial ancestor. Ask for flowers. Certainly, the half-step 7th level ancestor is preparing for the impact of the 7th level ancestor, so it is almost invisible at ordinary times. Just like the Tongtianyuan area, there are only 3 half-step 7-layer primitive ancestors in total, and 2 of them have already left the Tongtianyuan area, and they have not appeared in endless years. The one who really sits in the Tongtianyuan area is a half-step 7th level ancestor, and he doesn't show up very much. Therefore, as long as Yi Tian doesn't offend the half-step 7th level ancestor, with his strength, there will be almost nothing. Finally, when the Golden Light Domain was about to open, Yi Tian's cultivation base finally completed a breakthrough. Boom! With a breakthrough in cultivation, Yi Tian stepped into the realm of the middle stage of the 6th-layer primitive ancestor. Endless energy poured into his body, and with the addition of many resources, he quickly completed the realm breakthrough. After a long time, Yi Tian stabilized the realm of the middle stage of the 6th-layer primordial ancestor, and his strength was much stronger than in the past. This day, the Golden Light Domain was opened. Yi Tian brought Han Zan to the Golden Light Domain, ready to let Han Zan enter the Golden Light Domain. However, this time, it was blocked by other 6th-layer primitive ancestors. Your Excellency comes to our Tongyu, but it's too much to want to enter the Golden Light territory. A Taoist ancestor of the late 6th stage of the original ancestor intercepted. Seeing this scene, Han Zan's expression changed. She suddenly remembered that she is not the original ancestor of the Tongtianyuan area now, and the Golden Light Field is a scarce resource for the Tongtianyuan area. A monster genius who understands many extremes. Therefore, the 6th-level ancestors of the Tongtianyuan region are very important to the Golden Light territory, and it is unlikely that the 3-level ancestors of other regions will enter the Golden Light territory. However, if she just leaves, she will not be reconciled. What if I force my disciple to enter? Yi Tian said coldly. Then don't blame us. A 6th-layered ancestor appeared, and the weakest were all Taoist ancestors in the middle stage of the 6th-layered ancestor, but there was no Taoist at the peak of the 6th-layered ancestor. Time to pay attention to the Golden Light Domain Corpse. Chapter 2169 Prepare to comprehend Yuan Dao. Open black lens bracket seeking full order close black lens bracket. Roll. Yi Tian made a direct and brazen attack, and the endless golden light directly smashed a 6th-layer primitive ancestor into the air, and even the Taoist ancestor of the late 6th-layer primitive ancestor was blown away by a single blow, and his body was cracked. Of course, Yi Tian didn't kill. After all, this is the area of Tongtianyuan. If he kills a 6th-level ancestor, he will not even think about leaving. Maybe that half-step 7th-level ancestor will take action. So, just show your strength. These Taoist ancestors were not lightly injured, and their faces were full of fear. They could see that Yi Tian showed mercy, otherwise they would not have been injured. You are using the primordial control technique of the Supreme Destiny, and you have comprehended 365 extreme extremes. A Taoist ancestor in the late 6th stage of the original ancestor said in horror. After all, this Taoist ancestor's cultivation base is higher than Yi Tian, so one can see a little mystery of the 1, 2, 3, endless golden light, and then it is discovered that this endless golden light actually contains 365 extreme extremes. Yi Tian didn't answer, but continued, "Do you still want to do it? I just sent my apprentice into the golden light domain, and I don't want to be your enemy." The faces of many Taoist ancestors were gloomy, but they did not dare to continue. With Yi Tian's cultivation base and comprehension of 365 extreme extremes, if he really shot with all his strength, it would be enough to kill them instantly. In the entire Tongtianyuan area, there is only one person who can really deal with Yi Tian, and that is the half-step 7th level ancestor, Xuanqing Daozu. Although Xuanqing Daozu is not the strongest in the Tongtianyuan area, he is now the only half-step 7 level ancestor who is stuck in the Tongtianyuan area. The original ancestor of the Heavy Peak. If Xuanqing Daozu made a move, he would definitely be able to kill Yi Tian. However, they please do not move Xuanqing Daozu. Therefore, they stopped taking action and acquiesced to Yi Tian's behavior. Sure enough, Han Zan glanced at Yi Tian and thought to herself. She has always guessed that the master has comprehended the 365 extreme extremes, and also condensed the 9-fold Tao fruit. Now it seems to be true, otherwise the strength will not be so terrifying. Now, even the Taoist ancestor in the late stage of the 6th level original ancestor said so, that must be 100% comprehension of the 365 extreme extremes. This time it's for real. Go in, Yi Tian said. Yes, master. Han Zan immediately escaped into the golden light domain. And Yi Tian just waited silently here, cultivating by the way. The other Tao ancestors were waiting far away and did not dare to stay with Yi Tian. Golden light field. After entering this place, Han Zan showed her invincible strength. After all, she was a reincarnated person. She was a Taoist ancestor in her previous life. Even if she is a 3rd-level Taoist today, she has mastered more than 300 kinds of extreme extremes and created a large number of perfection-level primordials. Control skills, but also the top perfection-level primitive control skills. Even those holy sons who have comprehended 108 extreme extremes, met her, and they were killed in seconds. So, Han Zan slaughtered all directions in the golden light field. If she found the golden light, she would take it directly. Whoever dared to snatch it from her would be instantly killed by her. The streaks of golden light were absorbed by Han Zan, and while she understood the extreme way, she searched for new golden lights. After absorbing this special golden light, her comprehension ability has increased 10,000 times, so she has great hope of comprehending 1 or 2 extreme extremes again. Of course, the premise is that she has to get enough golden light. As time passed, Han Zan kept grabbing the golden light. As for other resources, she didn't care at all. After all, except for this special kind of golden light, the other resources in the golden light domain are relatively common, and they may be very precious to the other triple primordial ancestors, but they are not seen by Han Zan. After a long time, the golden light field began to close. One of the 3 original ancestors was moved out by the big array, and all the 3 original ancestors were not allowed to stay in the golden light territory. Master. Han Zan came out and immediately came to Yi Tian's side. Let's go. Yi Tian left with Han Zan, and no one stopped him. After returning to the dojo, Han Zan immediately went to retreat again. After all, she absorbed a lot of golden light and the effect is still there, so she naturally wanted to take the opportunity to continue to understand the extreme way, so she couldn't waste this opportunity. After a period of time, Han Zan completely used up the effects brought by the golden light. I have comprehended 2 more extreme extremes, I have already understood 363 extreme extremes, and only the last 2 extreme extremes are left. No, it should be said that only I need to understand the last extreme way, and my own extreme way will also enter the extreme level. Han Zan said secretly, but she knew very well that the 364 extreme extremes were very difficult to comprehend, and it was several times more difficult to comprehend than the 2 extreme extremes that had been comprehended before. The next time the golden light domain will be opened is after the 10 million yuan era, so she has to wait for the 10 million yuan era before she can continue to enter the golden light domain. The point is, those golden lights are not necessarily useful to her. Therefore, she can't expect the golden light in the golden light field, and it is best to find other ways to comprehend the 364th extreme. Let's comprehend slowly first, there is no other way. Han Zan said secretly. Now, Yi Tian Yilian, but in the later stage, is not only the reason for lack of resources, but the most important reason is that it is more than 10 times more difficult to become the late stage of the 6th stage of the original ancestor than to become the middle stage of the 6th stage of the original ancestor. Therefore, Yi Tian is not in a hurry to break through for the time being, he is going to spend a lot of time to understand Yuan Dao. Comprehension of the Yuan Dao does not necessarily have to wait for the cultivation base to break through to the peak of the 6th level original ancestor, but it is too difficult to understand the Yuan Dao. In order to be promoted to the peak of the original ancestor of the 6th layer, the cultivation base cannot be improved, and then go to comprehend the Yuan Dao. Furthermore, those Taoist ancestors couldn't even cultivate at the peak of the 6th level original ancestor, let alone comprehend the Yuan Dao. If you compare the difficulty of cultivating to the peak of the original ancestor of the 6th layer to 1, then the difficulty of comprehending the Yuan Dao is 100. Of course, even if you understand the Yuan Dao, if you want to become the half-step 7-fold original ancestor, you still need the Yuan Dao tempering technique, and use the Yuan Dao to break your own shackles. And Yi Tian currently doesn't have the primordial Dao tempering technique. When he has the opportunity to obtain such a secret technique from other forces, he really can't get it. The big deal is to ask his disciple Han Zan if he has it. However, for now, let's first understand the Yuan Dao and talk about it. Chapter 2170 The Prototype of the Endless Yuan Dao. Open black lens bracket seeking full order close black lens bracket. If Yi Tian wanted to comprehend the Yuan Dao, it was naturally impossible to blindly comprehend the cultivation practice. So, Yi Tian took out a piece of Dao Kongzhen tree to comprehend and practice. Under the action of the true tree of Taoism, Yi Tian's various extremes began to evolve and merge. Of course, this is not a real fusion, it's just a preliminary derivation and fusion, and Yuan Dao is a more powerful Dao realized in this derivation and fusion, beyond the extreme Dao. If there is no Daokong true tree, it is impossible to achieve such a clear derivation process. With the passage of time, the effect of this empty tree will be exhausted, and it can only become an ordinary branch without special effects. It's too difficult, just this piece of Dao Kongzhen tree, the effect is too ordinary. Yi Tian muttered. However, this is also related to his desire to comprehend the ninefold Yuan Dao. If he only comprehends the first layer Yuan Dao, it will be much simpler, and if he wants to comprehend the ninefold Yuan Dao, the price to pay will be huge. For example, if he used all the Daokong true tree he obtained this time, it would be impossible to comprehend the ninefold Dao. However, Yi Tian can copy the true tree of Daokong, and he can still help himself understand Yuan Dao. Soon, Yi Tian began to copy the Daokong Gen 29 tree, but the process of copying was very slow. After all, the Daokong real tree was of a high grade, and it took a lot of resources and time to copy the Daokong real tree. Time passed slowly. Yi Tian spent 10,000 yuan epochs before successfully copying Daokongzhen tree branches. Since he has not seen the complete Daokong true tree, he cannot copy the complete Daokong true tree, but copying this branch is enough. Subsequently, Yi Tian used the copied Dao Kongzhen tree to comprehend and cultivate Yuan Dao. As long as he didn't destroy the branches of the Dao Kongzhen tree, the branches of the Dao Kongzhen tree would not dissipate. The effect is alright, so let's comprehend it like this. Yi Tian said with satisfaction. Time flies, and in the blink of an eye, more than 500,000 yuan era has passed. And Yi Tian has already used this piece of Dao Kongzhen tree completely, and it is no longer effective. Afterwards, Yi Tian continued to copy this branch of the Dao Kongzhen tree, and continued to comprehend and practice. In this way, the true tree of Daokong is useless. Yi Tian continues to copy, continue to comprehend, and comprehend again and again. Before he knows it, 10 million years of the original era have passed. This day, the golden light domain was opened again, and Han Zan entered the golden light domain once again, still sweeping everything. At this time, the 6th level primordial ancestors of the Tongtianyuan area were very dissatisfied. After all, Han Zan entered again, which was simply unfair to the other 3-level primordial ancestors. But those 3rd-level ancestors couldn't beat Han Zan, and those 6th-level ancestors couldn't beat Yi Tian, so they couldn't do anything about it, and it was impossible to go to Xuanqing Daozu for such a trivial matter. So, they can only be secretly annoyed. Failed. Han Zan frowned after she came out of the golden light domain and practiced in seclusion for a period of time. She still didn't understand the 364th extreme pole, as if she was still a little bit worse, and the special golden light in the golden light field didn't help her much, and it could even be said that it had no effect. Even if she went to the golden light territory 10 times, she would not be able to comprehend the 364 extremes. Is it difficult? Really have to rely on a lot of time to grind slowly? Han Zhan said secretly. Another long time passed. Now, Yi Tian has come to the Tongtian Yuanyuan area for more than 20 million Yuanyuan era years, which is a very long time. And in such a long time, Yi Tian copied the Dao Kong True Tree many times, worked hard to comprehend it, and finally comprehended the prototype of Yuan Dao. That's right, it's just a prototype, and it's still 108,000 miles away from comprehending the true Yuan Dao. However, what he comprehended was the prototype of the ninefold Yuan Dao. Even if it was a prototype, its power was still very powerful, far exceeding those extremes. This prototype of the Yuan Dao is a combination of 365 extremes, and it is called the prototype of the endless Yuan Dao. Yi Tian murmured. After all, the prototype of the endless Yuan Dao is the prototype of the ninefold Yuan Dao, and its power may not be weaker than the ordinary Yuan Dao. In addition, Yi Tian's original strength cannot be terrifyingly powerful. Now that he has mastered the prototype of the endless Yuan Dao, his strength may be no less than the weaker half-step 7th level ancestor. Moreover, after comprehending the rudiment of the endless primordial path, the power of his several supreme primordial control techniques has also skyrocketed, which can be integrated into the power of the primordial endless primordial path, resulting in even more terrifying effects. It's a pity that I didn't comprehend the endless Yuan Dao. If I comprehend the real endless Yuan Dao, the original control skills of the Supreme Life will also be transformed into the control skills of the Supreme Life, and the power will increase to an unimaginable level. Anyway, Yi Tian is already satisfied. After all, if it is someone else, there is no hope of comprehending the prototype of Yuan Dao in the middle stage of the 6th level primitive ancestor, not to mention the prototype of the 9th level Yuan Dao, which is almost impossible. In the following years, Yi Tian kept trying to combine the rudimentary form of the endless Yuan Dao with many of his own methods, and truly use the power of the rudimentary form of the endless primordial path for his own use. Taiku Dao League. A Taoist ancestor opened the meeting, and a copy of Yi Tian's body also came here to participate in this meeting. At the meeting, the Wuxian Daozu of the Taiku Dao League said, "Every Daozu, I just got the news that a primitive ancient artifact, the Yuanshan drum, has appeared in the nearby silent Black Sea. This primitive ancient artifact will launch a shock attack, and the weaker Daozu will be killed." The body cracked. Moreover, there is more than one Yuanshan drum, and this kind of primitive antiquity has never appeared before. It should be a primitive ancient artifact that has recently migrated here. Yu Daozu killed the Yuanshan drum, and it turned out to be from Yuanshan. A special kind of black liquid was obtained in the drum. Once this black liquid is swallowed and refined, it can improve our understanding to an unimaginable level. Those who want to understand the Yuan Dao's 6th level peak primordial ancestors all began to act, want to find this kind of primitive antiquity. If we kill this kind of Yuanshan drum, we can get this special black liquid. Even if we don't need it, we can sell it to other Taoist ancestors. Can this black liquid be used again and again? Or is there a limit? Yi Tian asked. Endless Daozu, we don't know this. After all, the Yuanshan drum came out not long ago, but if any treasure is used too much, the effect will definitely get worse and worse. Wuxian Daozu said. No, Heavenly Daozu, the silent Black Sea is dangerous, and if you are not careful, you will fall. Zubai Daozu worried. Wuxian Daozu nodded. I naturally know this, so it is best for everyone to form a team to go to the silent Black Sea, and not too far away from the Taiku Yuan area boundary, or close to other original area boundaries, so that once you encounter danger, you can escape into the area. This is a good opportunity. Even if you kill a Yuanshan drum, it will be a big profit. Once the Yuanshan drum disappears and leaves this area, we will not have such a chance. I'm ready to go. Which Taoist ancestor will team up with me? A Taoist said. Yi Tian is not going to form a team with any Taoist ancestors. After all, their strength is too weak. He is going to go to the silent Black Sea alone. Chapter 2171 encountered the primitive ancients of the half-step 7-fold primitive level. Open black lens bracket Seekin. Silent Black Sea. Many Taoist ancestors have entered here, all looking for Yuanshan drums. After all, killing primitive antiquities can still obtain treasures, which is very rare. After most of the primitive relics are killed, nothing is gained. If you kill the ancients of the original, you can also get the ancient beads of the original, but the ancients of the original are too powerful, and it is too difficult to kill. Those Taoist ancestors do not dare to attack the ancients of the original idea. But Yuanshan drum is not powerful, and it is easy to kill. Therefore, these Taoist ancestors dared to play the idea of Yuanshan drum. According to the news, there is a chance to encounter the Yuanshan drum after 30 UNEU days in the silent Black Sea, and there is a high probability that you will encounter Yuanshan drum after 100 UNEU days, but you will also encounter other powerful primordial antiquities. You may even encounter primordial ancients. After Yi Tian grasped this information, he slowly shuttled through the silent Black Sea. He is not near the area boundary of the Taikuyuan region. The Taoist ancestors of the Taiku Taoist League are nearby, so he needs to avoid them. Time passed slowly, and 40 days of the original domain quickly passed, and during this period, he also encountered other original ancient artifacts, all of which were instantly killed by him. Finally this day, in front of the silent Black Sea, a giant black drum appeared. Yuanshan drum. Yi Tian smiled, and after waiting for so long, he finally got this Yuanshan drum. The Yuanshan drum vibrated, and a drum sound appeared in the void. The vibration formed by this drum sound directly acts on Yi Tian's body, and wants to shatter Yi Tian's body, but Yi Tian's body is too strong, and naturally this Yuanshan drum can't shake it. Primordial antiquities like Yuanshan drum are not easy to leave once they appear, and although they appear suddenly, it takes a certain amount of time to leave suddenly. According to the guesses of the Taoist ancestors, this abruptly appearing ability cannot be used all the time, and there is an interval. Therefore, Yi Tian is not worried that this Yuanshan drum will suddenly escape. Swish! Yi Tian used his infinite speed, came to the Yuanshan drum, and used the endless golden light to kill the Yuanshan drum in seconds. Click! The Yuanshan drum shattered and dissipated, and a drop of black liquid appeared. Sure enough, there is black liquid. Yi Tian grabbed this drop of black liquid and put it away. Afterwards, he continued to stay in the silent Black Sea for a long time. If other Taoist ancestors did not dare to do so, but returned to the district to rest for a long time, they would not even dare to enter the silent Black Sea frequently, otherwise they would encounter very terrifying primitive relics. Not long after, Yi Tian encountered the Yuanshan drum again, and after killing the Yuanshan drum, he obtained another drop of black liquid. But as time passed, he stayed in the silent Black Sea for a long time. Finally, on this day, he encountered multiple primitive antiquities at one time. Buzzing. There were 3 primordial ancients, 5 Yuanshan drums, and other rotten primordial antiquities outside, a total of 16 primordial antiquities. The other primordial antiquities are not strong, but those 3 primordial ancients are in trouble. It can be said that even the Taoist ancestors in the late stage of the 6th layer primitive ancestor could only choose to run away in such a situation. However, Yi Tian was very happy. Yes, this time I can harvest 3 primitive ancient beads and 3 drops of black liquid. Yi Tian immediately started to do it, first killing the other primordial antiquities directly, and then dealing with the 3 primordial ancients. Boom! Under Yi Tian's attack, the 3 primordial ancients collapsed again and again. Moreover, Yi Tian directly exerted the power of the rudimentary form of the endless Yuan Dao this time, and after only 6 attacks, the primitive ancients fell directly. If he comprehends the true endless primordial path, he can instantly kill the primitive ancients, and even if their recovery ability is against the sky, they will not be able to withstand his blow. One after another UNEU day passed, Yi Tian found that the number of Yuanshan drums was getting smaller and smaller, and after that, he could not even find Yuanshan drums, but the ancients of the original often encountered them, and the strength of the ancients was getting stronger and stronger. One day, Yi Tian directly encountered a primitive ancient person whose strength was comparable to the late stage of the 6th level original ancestor, and was even very close to the peak of the 6th level original ancestor. Moreover, such a primitive ancient person, the recovery ability is too abnormal. Even if Yi Tian made a full shot and smashed its body again and again, it took a long time to kill it. And the quality of the original ancient beads in this original ancient person is also better. Zhu Bai Daozu sent me a message. Yi Tian accepted the subpoena, and only then did he discover something big. Endless Dao Ancestor, don't enter the silent Black Sea for the time being. Something big has happened. A large number of Dao ancestors entered the silent Black Sea, triggering a primordial ancient man whose strength is comparable to the half-step 7-layer original ancestor. He tried to intercept the opponent, but he was also injured and fled back to the area. After receiving this information, Yi Tian first went back to the primordial plains area to send the resources back, and then entered the silent Black Sea. Anyway, he has several copies of the body, even if he really fell, he can still copy it, so he doesn't need to be as fearful as other Taoist ancestors. In the beginning, Yi Tian had good luck, and he did not encounter the primordial ancient person whose strength was comparable to the half-step 7th level ancestor, but after a long time, he finally encountered it. In the silence of the Black Sea, Yi Tian stared at the front, a terrifying black figure stared at him, a terrifying aura filled the air, and all around were suppressed by a mysterious force. Quote. Very powerful, the most powerful ancient person I have ever seen. It is also stronger than any Taoist ancestor I have ever seen. Yi Tian determined that the opponent's strength absolutely surpassed the peak realm of the 6th layer primitive ancestor, and I was afraid that it was really comparable to the half-step 7th layer primitive ancestor realm. Moreover, how difficult it is to kill such primitive ancients, even the same half-step 7 layer primitive ancestor cannot kill it, but will be consumed by it. This is also the reason why the half-step 7th level primitive ancestor fled to the district boundary, because if you really get it well, you won't kill this half-step 7 level primitive ancestor. Try the strength of such primitive ancients to 16. Yi Tian shot at the same time as the original ancient man. Boom, servant. With just one blow, Yi Tian was directly sent flying by the opponent's punch, the endless black domain was torn apart directly, and even his endless mask was broken. And Yi Tian's endless golden light also hit the opponent's body, although a hole was torn, but this kind of injury is no different from ordinary people's broken skin. Boom. The battle continued, and Yi Tian was in a weak position throughout the whole process and was completely suppressed. Sure enough, I am at most the equivalent of a weaker half-step 7th level ancestor, and this primordial ancient is equivalent to a powerful half-step 7th level ancestor, and he can hardly be beaten to death. I can't help him at all. Yi Tian thought to himself. Over time, Yi Tian's replica body was seriously injured. Chapter 2172 The Effect of Black Liquid, Hanzon and #039's Breakthrough. Open black lens bracket full order close black lens bracket. Suddenly, a few primordial ancients appeared on the silent Black Sea. Although they were not comparable to the half-step 7 level primordial ancestor, they were also the top 6 level peak primordial ancestors. These primitive ancients also joined the ranks of besieging Yi Tian. If it was before, Yi Tian didn't put these primitive ancients in his eyes at all, but now he can't beat them. In the end, Yi Tian's replica body still fell. But before his fall, Yi Tian still killed a primordial ancient who was at the peak level of the 6th level primordial ancestor. After killing Yi Tian, these primitive ancients gradually disappeared after a while. In fact, Yi Tian could escape completely, but there was no need for that. If he escapes, his body will be severely injured, and he must slowly repair the injury, or he will release the duplicate body. If the cloned body is removed, it is better to just fall. Afterwards, after Yi Tian reproduced a duplicate body again, he entered the silent Black Sea again, and came to the area where he fell. Original ancient beads. Yi Tian directly put away the original ancient bead. This is the primordial ancient pearl from the primordial ancient that he killed before, and the other primordial ancients did not take it away. It can be seen from this that these primitive ancients have no wisdom, as if everything follows instinct. Otherwise, this primitive ancient bead would have been taken away long ago. In the following years, Yi Tian harvested a few more drops of black liquid and some primitive ancient beads, and once again provoked the primitive ancient person who was comparable to the half-step 7-layer primitive ancestor. Just like this again and again, Yi Tian finally never found the Yuanshan drum again, and the original ancient beads also collected a lot, and they didn't need to collect them for the time being. Subsequently, Yi Tian sent a few drops of black liquid to the boundary of Tongtianyuan area, ready to send a drop to his apprentice Hanzon. She also knew that Hanzon had been trying to comprehend the 364 extreme extremes, but she had not succeeded. Master. Hanzon was called by Yi Tian, and she was a little curious about what the master told her to do. At this time, Yi Tian took out a drop of black liquid. This is the black liquid from the original ancient artifact, Yuanshan drum, which can improve the understanding unimaginably, even if the 6-layer original ancestor peak powerhouse comprehends Yuan Dao, all of them are of great help. For the teacher to give you a drop, there should be hope to help you comprehend the 364th extreme way. Many CJFJ, thank you, Master. Hanzon said excitedly. If this black liquid really has such an effect, then she is really hopeful to comprehend the 364th extreme way, and naturally she will also understand the 365th extreme way. After going back, Hanzon took the drop of black liquid and swallowed it. Boom! A strange force poured into her extreme will, which put her in a special state, and her understanding reached an unimaginable improvement. In this state, Han-Zon began to do her best to comprehend the 364th extreme way. Time passed slowly, and as this drop of black liquid was continuously consumed, Han-Zon's understanding progressed at an incomparable speed. Finally, before this drop of black liquid was exhausted, she finally realized the 364th extreme way, and her own extreme way also completely reached the extreme state at this moment. So far, Han-Zon has completely understood the 365 extremes, and has reached the true great perfection. Finally comprehended the 365 extremes. In this way, I can be promoted to the 4th level ancestor in the most perfect way. In the future, there is even hope to condense the 9th level Tao fruit and the 9th level primordial path. Han-Zon murmured. Of course, she also knew that the following process was still difficult, and that it would take a long time to slowly cultivate, and everything could not be rushed. 365 extremes have been comprehended, and Han-Zon's next goal is to create a primordial mastery technique. For her, this step is not difficult. Based on the background of her previous life, she is now in the realm of the triple primordial ancestor, and she has comprehended 365 extremes and created several supreme primordial control skills. It is simply too easy. It didn't take long for her to create the 5 supreme primordial control skills. Moreover, Han-Zon had already prepared enough Taishi gold liquid for herself, so she could directly condense the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and even 5th birth control skills. Afterwards, after Han-Zon talked to Master Yi Tian, she began to attack the realm of the 4th level ancestor. Everything went very smoothly, and Han-Zon easily entered the realm of the 4th ancestor. And once he broke through, he was almost invincible in the realm of the quadruple ancestor. Han-Zon still has a lot of resources, so it won't take long for her to be promoted to the pinnacle of the 4th level ancestor, and those half-step 5th level ancestors will not be her opponents. When Han-Zon made a breakthrough, Yi Tian was naturally very happy. After all, such a monstrous genius had become his own disciple, so he would have a face if he spoke out. Certainly, Yi Tian didn't expect this apprentice to be of great help to him. His growth rate was so fast that Han-Zon really couldn't catch up with him. However, with one more apprentice, when he grows up in the future, he can still help himself deal with some small things. The black liquid of the Yuanshan drum is really good. During this period of time, I have consumed all the black liquid, and the rudimentary form of the endless Yuan Dao has improved a lot, and its power is several times higher than before. Yi Tian murmured. If it is described in terms of percentages, the prototype of the infinite Yuan Dao before was 1%, but now it is at least 5%. Although there is still a long way to comprehend the true infinite Yuan Dao, at least look at it, to hope. If there is a huge amount of black liquid, he can really comprehend the endless Yuan Dao very quickly. It is a pity that the black liquor is too valuable and too rare, and no new Yuanshan drums have been discovered, so he cannot obtain the black liquor. Another period of time has passed, and the news that a grand trade fair is about to be opened in the Shattered Void region. In fact, such trade fairs are held every few years to integrate resources. With the addition of the 6 original levels, the resource consumption is fast, and it is very lacking in resources, so such a trade meeting is very necessary. Moreover, only the original ancestor of the 6th level is eligible to participate in such a trade fair, and the original ancestor of the half-step 6th level is not eligible. So, Yi Tian came to the Shattered Void region in advance. Not only he came, but also those Taoist ancestors of the Taiku Taoist Alliance. Shattered Void City. This is the largest trading giant city in the Shattered Void district. It is not open at ordinary times, and it will only be opened at this time. The original ancestors who entered here are all 6th-level ancestors. Endless Daozu, this is the 377th time I have participated in such a trade fair. Zhu Bai Daozu said. Chapter 2173 Ancient Nest. Open black lens bracket full order close black lens bracket. Although it took a long time for this kind of trade fair between Taoist ancestors to open once, but Zhu Bai Taoist ancestors have been Taoist for a long time, so they have participated in so many times. Afterwards, Yi Tian chatted with Zhu Bai Daozu for a while, and got a general understanding of the situation of this trade fair. For example, in this kind of trade fair, there will be many powerful Taoist ancestors coming here, and there are even Taoist ancestors at the half-step 7th level ancestor level. For example, Xuanqing Daozu, who was in the area of Tongtianyuan, also came many times. There are many district boundaries, and there are also many district boundaries that are stronger than the Tongtianyuan area boundary, and the major district boundaries pass through the Daomen. Even if the distance is very far, you can reach here quickly, without the need to go through the extremely dangerous and silent Black Sea area. Has any of the 7 ancestors participated in the trade fair? Yi Tian asked curiously. Zhu Baidaozu's face was shocked. I have never seen the 7th level ancestor. Where would the 7th level ancestor participate in such a trade fair? From the mouth of Zhu Baidaozu, I learned that the 7th level ancestor is mysterious and unpredictable. It belongs to the legend, and I have almost never seen it, but there are some half-step 7 level ancestors, but there are not many. Many half-step 7 layer primitive ancestors will go deep into the depths of the silent Black Sea, looking for other more powerful regions. It is said that in the depths of the silent Black Sea, there is a continuous Black Mountain, which cuts off the silent Black Sea, and there are a large number of primitive antiquities on the Black Mountain. Without the strength of the half-step 7th layer original ancestor, there is no hope of passing through. If you can't pass through it, naturally you can't go to the deeper boundary. As for the currently known district boundaries, there are probably tens of thousands, which are the synthesis of the district boundaries in this area. As for the half-step 7 layer primitive ancestor, the total number of known district boundaries that are still in these tens of thousands is only a few hundred. Taigu Daozu, it is said that he crossed the Black Mountain at the beginning, went to a deeper area, and never came back. Zhu Baidaozu revealed again. Yi Tian nodded slightly, not feeling surprised that Taigu Daozu left the Black Mountain. After all, the Taigu Daozu has gathered the 9th level Taoist ancestor. When he left, his cultivation base reached the late stage of the 6th level original ancestor. Naturally, his strength is no less than the half-step 7th level original ancestor, and he can naturally leave. Before I knew it, several days of the original domain passed. This day, the trade fair officially started, and each Taoist ancestor traded with each other in exchange for something. Yi Tian is also preparing to trade, and he is going to use the original ancient beads to trade. Primordial ancient pearls are of high value, and can even repair the damage of the Taoist fruit. Some Taoist ancestors' Taoist fruit is damaged, and they are even willing to go bankrupt to trade the original ancient pearls. Every Taoist knows that if you kill a primitive ancient person, you can get the primitive ancient pearl, but even if you are a powerhouse at the peak of the 6th level primitive ancestor, it is a little troublesome to kill a primitive ancient person. Moreover, the Taoist ancestor at the peak of the 6th level primitive ancestor did not dare to hunt the primitive ancients, and he was besieged and killed by himself, and thus fell into the silent Black Sea. Of course, if the half-step 7th layer primordial ancestor shoots, the weaker primordial ancients can be easily killed, but the primordial ancient pearl is so precious, even if the half-step 7th layer primordial ancestor can easily obtain the primordial ancient pearl, it is impossible to sell it cheaply. Therefore, the price of the original ancient beads is very high, and for the Taoist ancestors who are in desperate need, they are even willing to buy all the resources. When Yi Tian showed that he had the original ancient beads, many Taoist ancestors came to Yi Tian. Among them, there are many Taoist ancestors in the middle stage of the 6-fold original ancestor, and there is even a Taoist ancestor in the late 6-fold original ancestor. Maybe some Taoist ancestors are not short of primitive ancient beads, but if you buy one, you can be the bottom card. Primordial Guju can not only repair any injury, Tao fruit, but even save lives at critical moments. Such good things, naturally the more the better. And Yi Tian used these primitive ancient beads in exchange for a lot of resources. However, there are also some Taoist ancestors who have no resources, and Yi Tian will naturally not trade with them. That's right, I have used these primitive ancient beads in exchange for a lot of resources this time, so I can practice for a while longer. Yi Tian murmured. If you are lucky, there is still hope to improve your cultivation to the late stage of the 6th level ancestor. This day, a Taoist ancestor came to the Shattered Void Giant City and directly announced the sale of the location of a primitive ancient nest. As soon as the news came out, many Taoist ancestors rushed over. Mingyu Daozu, what you said is true. You found the location of a primitive ancient nest. What kind of primitive ancient nest is it? Xuanqing Daozu, the ancestor of the half-step 7th layer, asked. Xuanqing Daozu, Mingyu Daozu respectfully said, it's the ancient nest of Yuanshan drum. Ask for flowers. Really? Xuanqing Daozu took a deep breath and was a little excited. The ancient nest of Yuanshan drums, how many Yuanshan drums are in it? If you kill so many Yuanshan drums, you can get a lot of black liquor. The black liquid is helpful for the Taoist ancestors at the peak of the 6th level ancestor to understand the Yuan Dao, and it is also useful for the half-step 7 level ancestor. If you get a large amount of black liquid, then the effect will be great. It is very difficult to improve the strength of the half-step 7th level ancestor, and it takes a long time to improve a little, so they do not want to give up any opportunity to improve their strength. Immediately, other Taoist ancestors also wanted to know the location of the ancient nest. Ancient nest. Yi Tian was a little surprised. He naturally knows what the ancient nest is. The ancient nest is the place where the primitive antiquities are concentrated. It was born somewhere in the silent Black Sea, and is completely surrounded by the silent Black Sea. It is difficult to detect it, the existence of the nest. In addition, the ancient nest will also change, but it will only stay in one place for a long time. The Yuanshan drum came to this quiet Black Sea area recently, so some Taoist ancestors speculated that the ancient nest of the Yuanshan drum had arrived, but this ancient nest could not be found. The ancient nest can be connected to all directions, and the Yuanshan drum in the ancient nest can appear anywhere at will. One of the reasons why primitive antiquities are so mysterious is that they came from the ancient nest. At this time, Mingyu Daozu first said, "I don't know how many places there are in the ancient nest. The Daozu of each transaction must make a statement, leave it alone, and must not guide other Daozu to that ancient nest." When many Taoist ancestors heard it, they understood Mingyu Taoist ancestors' plan. This clearly wanted to use a message to sell to a large number of Taoist ancestors, so as to earn resources. However, they still have to trade like this, otherwise other Taoist ancestors will pass, and it will not be their turn to obtain benefits. Subsequently, one Taoist ancestor traded with Mingyu Taoist ancestors. Moreover, the chips that Mingyu Daozu asked for were not high, and any Daozu could afford it. In a short while, Mingyu Daozu obtained a large amount of resource corpses. Chapter 2174 The ancient nest is broken and harvested. Open black lens bracket seeking full order close black lens bracket. Yi Tian also traded the location of this ancient nest. After all, it doesn't cost much resources, so there is no need to save this resource. It turned out to be here. Yi Tian was surprised. This ancient nest is located near the Black Mountain in the silent Black Sea, where it is very dangerous, and the ancient nest is very hidden, so it has only been discovered until now, and it is also very normal. He was very curious how Mingyu Daozu discovered this ancient nest. But one thing is very certain, that is that the ancient nest is very dangerous. Mingyu Daozu dare not enter, otherwise he will not sell the location of the ancient nest. Taiku Dao League. Yi Tian returned here first, and then used the Dao Gate of the Taiku Dao Alliance to go to the new district boundary closest to Montenegro. This new district boundary is called the Yuhei district boundary. If the district boundary is born soon, the outside world's Taoist ancestors, 1, 2, 3, will enter it, and the strength will be suppressed. This is the term of protection for regional boundaries, as are many worlds and boundaries. Because the boundary of the Yuhei district is very weak, the major district boundaries will place one of the connection points of the daemon on the boundary of the Yuhei district, and the boundary of the Yuhei district cannot resist. Yi Tian shuttled through the Taoist gate to the boundary of the Yuhei district, thus saving the time of rushing through the silent Black Sea. Subsequently, Yi Tian tore through the barriers of the Yuhei district and entered the silent Black Sea. He had to travel back and forth to the ancient nest. And this distance is not short. Many Taoist ancestors who are not very powerful do not dare to travel all the time, and they are stranded at the boundary of each district, and slowly go to the location of the ancient nest. Otherwise, staying in the silent Black Sea for too long will attract very powerful primitive antiquities, which will be troublesome. And Yi Tian didn't worry about this problem, he directly shuttled to the ancient nest. One after another UNEU day passed. Yi Tian encountered a lot of primitive antiquity attacks during the period, but they were all killed by him one by one. Finally, Yi Tian arrived at the location of the ancient nest. At this time, he found that a battle had broken out here. It's those half-step 7-fold ancestors. Yi Tian recognized it. These half-step 7-layer primitive ancestors have many sects, and there must be more connection points than the Taiku Dao League, so they can come here faster. Not only that, there are also some original ancestors of the 6th level peak, which should also follow. Unexpected, the body of a 6th level peak primordial ancestor exploded directly, was directly grabbed by a half-step 7th level primordial ancestor, and threw it to another part of the silent Black Sea, leaving the battlefield. After the 6th level peak ancestor was thrown out, he quickly recovered his body, but his breath was much weaker. The Taoist ancestors at the peak of the 6th level original ancestor have been severely damaged. These Yuanshan drums are not simple. Yi Tian quickly came to the ancient nest and sensed the dense drums of Yuanshan. These primordial spirit drums burst into vibrations, and these vibrations could actually be combined, and a terrifying attack erupted. I see. Yi Tian understood it completely. A single Yuanshan drum is not powerful, but it can be superimposed and it is extremely powerful. Once the weak Taoist enters here, he will be instantly killed in an instant. Moreover, even if it is a half-step 7-layer primitive ancestor, he would not dare to go directly into this ancient nest, otherwise there would be danger. As a result, these Taoist ancestors slowly exhausted these Yuanshan drums. Soon, some Taoist ancestors came. Let's attack together, otherwise after staying in the silent Black Sea for a long time, other primitive antiquities will come, and the primitive antiquities will hardly kill each other, then we will be in trouble. A half-step 7-fold ancestor suggested. Okay, let's break into this ancient nest together. Many Taoist ancestors made a full effort and entered the ancient nest. The inside of the ancient nest is like another void, but the suppression of many Taoist ancestors is very large, but it is still within the tolerance range. Boom! War breaks out. Yi Tian also came in, and he also suffered the shock attack of the Yuanshan drum, but his body was very powerful, and the prototype of the endless Yuandao also protected him. Therefore, he will not be shaken to pieces like the original ancestors of the 6th level peak. I saw that Yi Tian directly entered a group of Yuanshan drums, instantly smashed some Yuanshan drums, and immediately took away a drop of black liquid. After all, the strength of these Yuanshan drums is not enough. The most powerful ones are only comparable to the peak of the 6th level ancestor, and they do not have the resilience of the original ancients. When they encounter the half-step 7th level ancestor, they are also killed by one move. In a short time, Yuan Shenggu was killed a lot, and Daozu also fell. After all, some Taoist ancestors did not have the support of the half-step 7-layer original ancestor. Once the fleshly body was smashed, a series of shocks attacked, and there was no time to recover, and the will of the extreme Tao was completely crushed. Therefore, this time, there are many Taoist ancestors who fell because of greed. Some Taoist ancestors were even the strongest in some districts, and now they have fallen here, and the strength and status of many districts will be greatly reduced. Of course, the surviving Taoist ancestors made a lot of money, and they got a lot of black liquid at once, even if they didn't use it. If they used it to train disciples, they could train a genius of evildoers. And some Taoist ancestors at the peak of the 6th level original ancestor are very close to comprehending Yuandao, and some have even comprehended the prototype of Yuandao. This time, they may be able to use these black liquids to directly comprehend the real Yuandao, thus achieving the half-step 7th level original ancestor realm. At that time, this area can add a few more half-step 7-level ancestors. After a while, these Yuanshan drums were all killed, and the entire ancient nest began to collapse. The ancient nest is about to collapse, leave now. One by one Taoist ancestors Kaiji Shuoli. They are all very clear about the consequences of the collapse of the ancient nest. Once the ancient nest completely collapses, the place will be distorted, and if the ancestors do not leave, they will be teleported to an unknown area. In short, Tao Ancestor 5.9, who distorted and disappeared with the ancient nest before, never came back. For unknown situations, no one dares to try, so it is natural to choose to leave. In an instant, all the Taoist ancestors came out. Go back to the border. A Taoist ancestor returned at the fastest speed. However, in the silence of the Black Sea, a primitive ancient man appeared. Obviously, these Taoist ancestors stayed in the silent Black Sea for too long, attracting other primitive antiquities. Before, they were inside the ancient nest, so these primitive antiquities could not get in. But now, as soon as they came out, they were immediately perceived by the primitive antiquities. At this time, Yi Tian was also stared at by some primitive antiquities, and he did not have the idea of continuing to fight, so he fled while fighting. After a long time, Yi Tian came to the nearest district and directly escaped into it. Chapter 2175 The strength has skyrocketed, the invitation of Xuanqing Daozu. Open black lens bracket full order close black lens bracket. After a period of time, Yi Tian came out of that area, went to the Yuhei area, and then returned to the Taikuyuan area from the Daomen mark point of the Yuhei area. After returning, Yi Tian inquired about it, and only then did he know that several Taoist ancestors had fallen on the way back and were surrounded and killed by a large number of primitive ancients. I have to say, their luck is really bad. Of course, it is also weak. If the strength is strong, such as Yi Tian, they don't care about the besieging and killing of those primitive ancients. It's a great harvest this time. Yi Tian took out a drop of black liquid, a total of nearly 1,000 drops. If in the past, where can you get so much black liquid, you have entered the ancient nest, and only then can you kill so many Yuanshan drums and obtain so much black liquid. By absorbing and refining so much black liquid, there should be hope that my rudimentary form of endless Yuan Dao will skyrocket, and there is even hope that I will comprehend the true endless Yuan Dao. Yi Tian muttered. In the following years, Yi Tian kept refining the black liquid, and then comprehended the endless Yuan Dao. With the continuous consumption of black liquid, Yi 29 Tian's rudimentary state of endless Yuan Dao is getting higher and higher, getting closer and closer to comprehending the real endless Yuan Dao. Certainly, Yi Tian's other cloned bodies are also rapidly refining resources, improving their cultivation, and comprehending the endless Yuan Dao and improving their cultivation without delay. Before you know it, tens of millions of years of the original era have passed. The black liquor is exhausted and completely gone. Although it can be copied, the copied black liquor cannot be refined and used, so it is meaningless. With so much black liquid consumed, Yi Tian's endless Yuan Dao prototype has probably increased to more than 70%, which shows how difficult it is to comprehend the real Zhouzhong Yuan Dao. Comprehension of the 365 extreme extremes, the Taoist ancestor who walked the ninefold Yuan Dao, wants to comprehend the real ninefold Yuan Dao. This area, after passing through the Black Mountains and leaving, probably felt that it was too difficult to comprehend the ninefold Yuan Dao and improve the cultivation base, and it took too long to leave, so I chose to leave. Yi Tian thought to himself. Among these tens of thousands of districts, there are not many Taoist ancestors who have comprehended the 365 extreme extremes, and many districts have more or less one in history. There are even 2 births in the Taikuyuan region, so it is not too rare to comprehend the evildoers of the 365 extreme extremes. However, in this era, there are only 2 original ancestors who have understood the 365 extreme extremes. One is Yi Tian, the other is his disciple Han Zan, and the other regions did not understand the original ancestor of the 365 extreme extremes. The original ancestors who understood the 365 extreme extremes all left here and entered the other side of Montenegro. Maybe in the future, I will also choose to leave. Yi Tian secretly said. Another period of time passed, Yi Tian exhausted his resources, and his cultivation base finally rose to the late stage of the 6th layer primitive ancestor. At this time, his combat power has risen to a very strong level, absolutely no less than those powerful half-step 7-fold ancestors. Silent Black Sea. Yi Tian came here, he was going to use those primitive relics to test his strength. Soon, a primitive relic similar to a branch appeared, Yi Tian pointed it, and instantly killed it. As time passed, the primordial ancients appeared. Comparable to the primitive ancients in the middle stage of the 6th layer, Yi Tian killed him in one move. Comparing to the primitive ancients of the late 6th layer primitive ancestor, Yi Tian is also a one-shot kill. Gradually, the primordial ancients who were comparable to the original ancestor of the 6th level peak appeared. Yi Tian spent dozens of moves, smashed the opponent's body again and again, and finally killed him. Finally, a primordial ancient person comparable to the half-step 7-fold original ancestor appeared. In the past, he could not beat such a primordial ancient person. But now, Yi Tian crushed it easily. However, the original ancients were very difficult to kill, the resilience was too terrifying. Yi Tian took a long time to break the opponent's body. But this is far from killing the opponent. Unkillable. Yi Tian shook his head and directly chose to give up fighting this primitive ancient man. Therefore, he directly returned to the Taikuyuan region. In the following years, Yi Tian entered the Silent Black Sea every once in a while, killed some primitive ancient people, and collected some primitive beads. Primordial ancient beads are a good thing. Only if you have enough primitive ancient beads can you support yourself through the Black Mountain in the Silent Black Sea. Otherwise, a Taoist ancestor who has traveled in the Silent Black Sea for so long, even if he is powerful, can once encounter a large number of primitive ancients. Siege will also be consumed to death. And if there are enough primitive ancient beads, they can continue to recover, and even the recovery ability will surpass the primitive ancient people. It will be difficult to kill. If the Taoist ancestors in this area want to leave here, they will find a way to collect enough primitive ancient beads. Yi Tian will not leave for the time being, but he will also collect enough primitive ancient beads to prepare early. After all, if one day there are no primitive ancient people in this area, there is no way to collect primitive ancient beads. Years have passed, and millions of years have passed. This day, Xuanqing Daozu, who was in the area of Tongtianyuanyuan, came to Yi Tian. Yi Tian and Xuanqing Daozu are not familiar with each other, but they have only met them in Shattered Void Giant City and Yuanshan Drum Ancient Nest before, but they have not had any communication. Endless Dao Ancestor, can there be few? Xuanqing Daozu appeared outside Yi Tian's dojo, Dao. Yi Tian was not surprised that his dojo was discovered by Xuanqing Daozu. This kind of dojo may be very easy to find for the 5-layered ancestor, but for the powerful 6th-layered ancestor, it can be found in a short time. As for the half-step 7-fold original ancestor, it can be found in an instant. Please, Yi Tian invited Xuanqing Daozu to enter his dojo. Soon, Xuanqing Daozu turned to topic 123. Endless Daozu, on behalf of Qingfeng Daozu, I'm here to invite you to cut off Montenegro. Xuanqing Daozu said, truncate Montenegro, is it the Black Mountain in the silent Black Sea? Yi Tian asked. Yes. Xuanqing Daozu nodded, it's that Montenegro, which is called Truncate Montenegro, but generally Taoist ancestors don't care about its real name. Truncate Montenegro seems to be a continuous mountain range. Directly truncate, but in fact it is like an uncrossable world, not as small as we see it. It is very difficult to read the silent Black Mountain, and a single half-step 7-fold original ancestor has no absolute certainty to cross the past. There are more than one half-step 7-level ancestors there, so many half-step 7-level ancestors dare not cross. This time, Qingfeng Daozu and the other 6 Taoist ancestors are going to cross and truncate Montenegro together, and the 7 of them are half-step 7-level ancestors. Yuanzu still has no absolute certainty, so he also invited some half-step 7-layer Yuanzu to escort them through the most dangerous section, even if the task is completed. After that, you don't need to worry about it. 1. So, Qingfeng Daozu invited me to help. Yi Tian frowned. Yes, Xuanqing Daozu said again. Of course, it is impossible to help in vain, such a dangerous thing, even life-threatening, no one half-step 7th-level ancestor is willing to help in vain, even me, will ask for benefits. What remuneration did Qingfeng Daozu give? If the remuneration is acceptable, I can help. 1. Yi Tian said. Chapter 2176 Golden Branches and Fruit, enter the truncation of Montenegro. Open black lens bracket full order close black lens bracket. Yi Tian doesn't worry about the danger of falling. It doesn't matter if he sends a copy body to help. Even if the copy body really falls, there is no big loss. But the premise for him to help is that Qingfeng Daozu is willing to take out the treasures that make his heart move, otherwise he will not help. At this time, Xuanqing Daozu said, this is a treasure that Qingfeng Daozu can take out, you can choose one. The phantoms of the treasures appeared, allowing Yi Tian to observe and choose. There are not many treasures, but each one is extremely precious, and it is the treasure collected by Qingfeng Daozu for endless years. After all, he has reached the realm of the half-step 7-fold original ancestor, his strength is strong, and he has become the half-step 7-fold original ancestor for a long time, so he will naturally have the opportunity to obtain massive treasures. And Yi Tian's cultivation time was too short, and he encountered few treasures. For example, among these treasures is the Daokong True Tree, and it is also a complete Daokong True Tree, which is also included in this reward. However, Yi Tian doesn't need the True Tree of Daokong. This thing may be very precious to the peak powerhouse of the 6th-layer original ancestor who has not comprehended the prototype of Yuan Dao, but it is useless to him. Moreover, he can also copy the Daokong True Tree, so there is no shortage of this treasure. Soon, Yi Tian made his choice. Golden branches are fruitless. The reason why Yi Tian chose this treasure is that this treasure is one of the most valuable treasures to the original ancestor of the 6th-level peak. It is called one of the top treasures suitable for raising the prototype of Yuan Dao. Certainly, if one does not comprehend the embryonic form of Yuan Dao, the golden branch false fruit is useless, and if one comprehends the Yuan Dao, the golden branch false fruit is also useless. But if you comprehend the prototype of Yuan Dao, as long as your understanding is not bad, you will definitely be able to comprehend the true Yuan Dao in the future, it is just a matter of time. Therefore, for those Taoist ancestors who have comprehended the embryonic form of Yuan Dao, the golden branch false fruit only saves long years of hard work, but it may not be able to fully comprehend Yuan Dao. The effect of the golden branch virtual fruit is related to one's own understanding and potential. But Yi Tian wanted to save time. He practiced too fast, and it didn't take long for him to become the original ancestor of the 6th layer, so he didn't want to waste a long time in comprehending the Yuan Dao. Therefore, the golden branch fruit is more valuable to him than other treasures. Jinji Shiguo, I will tell Qingfeng Daozu W. Xuanqing Dao Ancestor Dao. The reward should be paid first. Yi Tian asked. Xuanqing Daozu nodded. After entering the truncated Black Mountain, Qingfeng Daozu will immediately pay you, so don't worry. Moreover, this is also the default rule, and it has been done many times, and Qingfeng Daozu dare not violate it. Then it's fine, Yi Tian said. Time flies, and hundreds of thousands of Yuan epochs have passed. Finally, on this day, Qingfeng Daozu and other 7 half-step 7-level ancestors handled all the affairs and were about to leave, so they notified Yi Tian and other Daozu. Yuhei district boundary. These half-step 7-layer Dao ancestors agreed to meet here. Soon, a half-step 7th level original ancestor gathered here, and Yi Tian also came here. He is the only Taoist ancestor of the late 6th level original ancestor. However, the half-step 7-layer primitive ancestor who was present did not dare to underestimate him. When he was in the ancient nest of Yuan Shenggu before, Yi Tian showed his strength, which was definitely no less than the half-step 7th level ancestor, and his strength was not weak. Every Daozu, the 7 of us are going to leave here and head to the area that cuts off the other side of Montenegro. We just need you to help us pass through the area where the original ancient stone clan is located. Qingfeng Daozu said. At this time, another Daozu said, Qingfeng Daozu, you want us to help you leave, we came here, naturally we agreed, but the reward cannot be less, otherwise we will leave immediately. Naturally so, 7 Taoist ancestors, including Qingfeng Taoist, responded repeatedly. Soon, many Taoist ancestors set off. This time, Qingfeng Daozu and other 7 Taoist ancestors requested a total of more than 60 half-step 7-fold original ancestors. You must know that there are only hundreds of half-step 7-level ancestors in this area. Some half-step 7-level ancestors are in some special treasures and cannot be contacted, and some have been in seclusion all the time. Therefore, Qingfeng Daozu and the others were able to invite more than 60 half-step 7-level ancestors, which was quite good. Wow, numerous Taoist ancestors shuttled through the silent Black Sea area, constantly flying towards the truncation of Montenegro. Along the way, everyone also encountered some primitive ancients, but they were all killed in seconds without any threat. Everyone, speed up with all your strength, and the time is limited. Even if we are the half-step 7th level ancestor, we can't stay in the silent Black Sea area all the time, otherwise we will attract a large number of primitive ancients comparable to the half-step 7 level ancestor, which is not good. Qingfeng Daozu urged. Many Taoist ancestors nodded, and they all knew the danger of the silent Black Sea. The half-step 7 level ancestor who fell in the silent Black Sea, it is not that there is no, it is all by himself. Qingfeng Daozu and the other 7 Dao patriarchs want to leave here. If they delay a little, they will encounter a large number of primitive antiquities. So, they have to hurry up. After all, even if you have crossed the truncated Montenegro, there are other dangers, and time is precious. Without a certain degree of certainty and life-saving ability, no one half-step 7th level ancestor dared to make such a move. Not long after, many Taoist ancestors came to truncate Montenegro. Interrupting Montenegro traverses time and space, spreads endless areas, and cuts off many areas in Montenegro, which is extremely dangerous. Therefore, they can only cross from a few places, and this time the section they chose is one of the safest sections, but the safety is only relative. That's it, when we come from here, we will encounter some primitive antiquities at the beginning, and when we reach the middle area, we will encounter the primitive ancient stone clan, pass through the primitive ancient stone clan, and pass the most dangerous place. No need to trouble everyone. Qingfeng Dao ancestor said. Just after entering the cut-off Black Good Mountain, Qingfeng Daozu and the others set up, reward. Otherwise, there is no reward, and many Taoist ancestors turned around and left immediately. After all, no one wants to contribute in vain. Furthermore, coming here this time is also risky. In the event of a change, it is normal for some half-step 7-level ancestors to die. It's here. Yi Tian put away the golden branch virtual fruit given by Qingfeng Daozu and smiled. The reward was given, and many Daozu escorted Qingfeng Daozu and they quickly cut off the Black Mountain servant. Soon, hundreds of primitive antiquities appeared. Go straight through, don't tangle. The ancestral way of Qingfeng Dao. Boom. Numerous Taoist ancestors ignored these primitive relics and chose to move forward directly, shuttled here at an extremely fast speed. Of course, sometimes there is no way to avoid it, so let's take a shot and kill the original antiquities. Finally, after a period of time, they arrived at the territory of the original ancient stone clan. Chapter 2177 Completely comprehend the endless Yuan Dao. Open black lens bracket seeking full order close black lens bracket. The original ancient stone is a kind of original ancient stone similar to the stone. However, this primitive ancient stone is very powerful. The weaker ones are comparable to the Taoist ancestors at the peak level of the 6th level primitive ancestor, and the powerful ones are even more comparable to the half-step 7th level primitive ancestor. What's more, there are a lot of these primitive ancient stones. In this area, dense primordial ancient stones are suspended here, blocking a lot of time and space. Gaozu, don't save the use of primitive ancient beads, use them at critical moments, or they will fall if they are not careful. Moreover, once the battle with these primitive ancient stones is delayed for a period of time, it may even provoke other primitive ancient artifacts nearby. It will be very big soon. Qingfeng Daozu reminded. Many Taoist ancestors nodded slightly, expressing clarity. Boom, the battle has begun. The densely packed primordial ancient stones attacked these half-step 7-layer primordial ancestors, and Yi Tian was naturally attacked as well. These primitive ancient stones are not as difficult to kill as the primitive ancients, but there are too many, so in an instant, many half-step 7-layer primitive ancestors were crushed. In an instant, a half-step 7th level ancestor was smashed to pieces, but the power of the original ancient beads allowed these half-step 7 level 123 ancestors to quickly recover. Don't fight, send Qingfeng Daozu and the others out of this area, even if the task is completed. Xuanqing Daozu and other half-step 7-fold original ancestors spread the message. It is almost impossible to kill all these primitive ancient stones, and it is almost impossible for these primitive ancient stones to kill them all. Therefore, they just want to send Qingfeng Daozu away quickly, and they can leave. Although Yi Tian's strength is not weak, he is also injured soon. After all, too many primitive ancient stones are besieging him. In desperation, he could only use the original ancient beads to restore his body, so as to sign up. Otherwise, this body will fall. Not only will the golden branch virtual fruit that is obtained will be lost, but there will be no way to explain the fact that he is still alive in the future. So, he has to save his life as much as possible. With the passage of time, many Taoist ancestors protected Qingfeng Taoist to keep advancing, and finally passed through the site of the original ancient stone. Gaozu, goodbye by fate. 7 Taoist ancestors including Qingfeng Taoist turned into 7 rays of light and left through the void. The other Taoist ancestors did not have time to watch Qingfeng Taoist ancestors, but returned immediately. After spending a while, they finally broke out of the Black Mountain and returned to the silent Black Sea. Finally out, you have to return to the nearest district immediately. A Taoist ancestor secretly said. Immediately, many half-step 7-layer primitive ancestors shuttled quickly, but along the way, they encountered quite a few primitive ancients, and many of them were comparable to the half-step 7-layer primitive ancestor. Yi Tian also suffered such an attack, but he still insisted on reaching the nearest boundary, but he also spent a lot of primitive ancient beads. Fortunately, there is the original ancient bead, otherwise this replica body would not be able to hold on at all. Yi Tian secretly said. This time, he assisted Qingfeng Daozu and the others to leave. He not only harvested the treasure of Golden Branch false fruit, but also the inheritance of the 6th level ancestor to the 7th level ancestor, including Yuan Dao quenching technique. This is the extra reward that Yi Tian asked for, and for Qingfeng Daozu and the others, it was nothing, and even if it was given to Yi Tian, there would be no loss to them. So, they directly gave Yi Tian this inheritance. When the cultivation base reaches the peak of the 6th level original ancestor, then you will definitely understand the Yuan Dao, and then you can use the Yuan Dao tempering technique to temper your body and enter the half-step 7th level original ancestor realm. Yi Tian thought to himself. Taikuyuan area boundary, Void Fang Holy Gate. After Yi Tian returned here, he began to retreat and practice. As for Han Zan, she also brought her back. After all, in this life, Han Zan belongs to the realm of the primordial realm. Naturally, it is not suitable for him to stay in the Tongtianyuan zone. Even if the Tongtianyuan zone has more cultivation resources, for Han Zan, who is a half-step 5-level ancestor, CJFJ said that there is no difference. Inside the dojo, Yi Tian took out the golden branch virtual fruit, swallowed it in one bite, and then began to comprehend the prototype of Yuan Dao. Boom, countless insights came in. Yi Tian's endless Yuan Dao prototype was improving at a very terrifying speed. This effect, Yi Tian was shocked. As expected of a golden branch and fruit, it has greatly helped to understand the prototype of the endless Yuan Dao. Time flies, and before you know it, millions of years of the original era have passed. And in these years, Yi Tian has been refining the golden branch virtual fruit. Using the effect of the golden branch virtual fruit, Yi Tian directly raised the prototype of the endless Yuan Dao to the peak realm, which is almost 100%. He is only one step away from comprehending the true endless Yuan Dao. The effect of the golden branch void fruit is very good, but it's a pity that the energy is exhausted, but I'm a little short of comprehending the true endless Yuan Dao. At most 10 million Yuan era, I can comprehend the true endless Yuan Dao. 1. Yi Tian was full of confidence in himself, so he continued to retreat, trying to comprehend the endless Yuan Dao in one breath. In the blink of an eye, another 16 million years of the original era passed. An unimaginable terrifying fluctuation spread out from Yi Tian's body, and the rules of the extreme path in the void collapsed directly, and it was impossible to resist this power in Yi Tian's body at all. This is the power of Yuan Dao. Zhouzhong Yuan Dao, endless Yuan Dao, I finally realized it, it's too difficult. Yi Tian muttered. This is him, other Dao ancestors who have comprehended the 365 extremes, but it is not so easy to comprehend the ninefold Yuan Dao. After comprehending Zhouzhong Yuan Dao, Yi Tian's strength skyrocketed. Next, if he needs to improve his cultivation to the 6th level peak of the original ancestor, he can go back to the original ancestor. However, there is no rush to improve his cultivation. Although some of the resources in the major regions are useful to him at present, the effect is very mediocre. If you want to improve to the peak of the 6th level ancestor, you cannot do it without a lot of years. This day, Yi Tian participated in some Taoist discussion meetings, and all those who were qualified to participate in this meeting were the half-step 7th level primitive ancestors, and he was also qualified. At the Taoist conference, each Taoist ancestor exchanged and discussed Taoism, and as the years passed, each of them gained something. Of course, if you have any doubts, you can say it, and if other Taoist ancestors know it, they will answer them one by one. Suddenly, Yi Tian asked, every Taoist ancestor, among the primitive antiquities, are there any treasures that can be killed and can greatly improve their cultivation? At this time, Xuanqing Dao ancestor said, this kind of treasure really exists, but I advise endless Dao ancestor not to make this idea, it is too dangerous. Chapter 2178 The original ancient liquid. Open black lens bracket seeking full order close black lens bracket. What treasure? Yi Tian was a little curious. The original ancient liquid from the original ancient river. Xuanqing Daozu introduced. The original ancient liquid can greatly improve the cultivation of the Taoist ancestors, and even useful to us half-step 7-fold original ancestors. However, the original ancient river is very powerful, and it is difficult to kill. This is a primitive antiquity that is more difficult to deal with than the primitive ancients. Where is the original ancient river? Yi Tian asked. Truncate Montenegro. Xuanqing Daozu waved his hand and cut off an area of Montenegro to show, there is an ancient river here, and there are more than one, and the strength of any ancient river has the realm of the peak of the 6 original ancestors, and there is still half a step in it. The primordial ancient river at the level of the 7th level ancestor. The biggest feature of the primordial ancient river is the bondage. Once bound by the primordial ancient river, even the half-step 7-level primordial can hardly escape. Therefore, even those of us who are half-step 7-level primordial ancestors will not dare to provoke primitive ancient rivers like primitive ancient rivers. Thank you Xuanqing Daozu for his guidance. Yi Tian thanked. Xuanqing Daozu said again, endless primitive ancestor, I told you, but don't provoke those primordial ancient rivers. If you cultivate slowly, your cultivation will still be promoted to the peak of the 6th layer primordial ancestor, there is no need to rush to break through. The most indispensable thing for these Taoist ancestors is time. 1. I see. Yi Tian nodded slightly. He didn't explain too much. These Taoist ancestors did not dare to provoke the original ancient river, because once they fell, they really fell. However, he has several cloned bodies, and if one falls, he can re-replicate, so he is not worried about his own safety at all. However, it is impossible for him to disclose his situation to these Taoist ancestors. After a period of time, many Taoist ancestors came to an end and left one by one. Truncated Montenegro. Yi Tian came here, and according to the position given by Xuanqing Daozu, he found the location of the original ancient river. According to Xuanqing Daozu's instructions, the original ancient river is here. This time it is best to kill one of the original ancient rivers. Yi Tian wasn't going to deal with the primordial Furukawa that was comparable to the half-step 7th level ancestor. It was too difficult to kill. He was going to kill the primordial Furukawa that was comparable to the peak of the 6th level primordial ancestor. Soon, Yi Tian entered the cut-off Montenegro in this section. After duplicating the talent and exploring the surroundings, it didn't take long before he sensed the talent of the original Furukawa, and thus determined the opponent's position. It's the original ancient river comparable to the half-step sevenfold original ancestor level. It is difficult to kill, give up. Yi Tian secretly said. He wanted to bypass and look for other primordial ancient rivers, but soon encountered two primordial ancient rivers that were comparable to the half-step sevenfold primordial ancestor level. In a short time, some primitive ancient rivers surrounded him. Primordial ancient rivers are similar to rivers, and these primitive ancient rivers can also be superimposed together to form an incomparably vast long river. Soon, Yi Tian was trapped by the primordial ancient rivers. His body seemed to be caught in the primordial ancient rivers, and the surrounding time and space were blocked and suppressed. Yi Tian went all out, and finally used the endless Yuan Dao to cooperate with the endless golden light to penetrate these ancient rivers, but was blocked by other ancient rivers. In the end, Yi Tian's duplicate body was surrounded and killed. No wonder those Taoist ancestors didn't dare to attack the original ancient river's idea, and even I was surrounded and killed, and the other half-step 7 level ancestors, entering there, would almost certainly die. Yi Tian muttered. Of course, he actually had hope of escaping. As long as he kept using the original ancient beads to save his life, there was hope to break out of the encirclement. However, this time he was just a test. He didn't carry a primitive ancient bead, and it didn't matter. Even if a duplicate body fell, it wouldn't be a big deal. In the following years, Yi Tian tried several times to determine the situation there. Finally on this day, Yi Tian locked onto a primordial ancient river at the peak level of the 6th layer primordial ancestor at an extremely fast speed, and quickly came to its side. Die! Yi Tian cast endless golden light and hit him with one blow. Boom! This primitive Jiuhe's body shattered directly and was instantly killed by Yi Tian with a single blow. In the shattered body, a piece of primordial ancient liquid emerged, appearing gray. Yi Tian grabbed the original ancient liquid and rushed out of the encirclement at the fastest speed. After a period of time, Yi Tian got rid of these primitive ancient rivers, fled into the silent Black Sea, and then escaped into a boundary, which was safe. And in this area, Yi Tian refined this original ancient liquid, and tried the effect of this original ancient liquid. Boom! The incomparably pure and powerful energy quickly tempered Yi Tian's Dao fruit and body, and quickly improved his cultivation. For flowers. After a long time, this original ancient liquid was finally exhausted. The effect is not bad. If I can collect 10 copies, I can raise the cultivation base to the peak of the 6th level ancestor. Yi Tian secretly said. For him, collecting 10 original ancient liquids is not too difficult. In the following years, Yi Tian tried to hunt down the primordial Furukawa at the 6th layer peak primordial level again and again. Although he often failed, the loss was not too great. Years go by. In a blink of an eye, the era of the 8 million yuan era has passed. At this time, Yi Tian had already collected 9 copies of the original ancient liquid, and all of them had been absorbed and refined, and his current cultivation base was infinitely close to the peak of the 6th level original ancestor. 0. With one more copy of the original ancient liquid, I can break through to the pinnacle of the 6th primordial ancestor. Yi Tian thought to himself. After joining the cultivation base breakthrough, his strength will skyrocket, and it will be easier to hunt down these primordial ancient liquids. Even when the time comes, he hopes to kill the original ancient river that is comparable to the half-step 7-fold original ancestor. This day, Yi Tian once again entered the truncated Black Mountain area where the primordial ancient river was located, and this time he even prepared a lot of primordial ancient pearls just to capture this original primordial ancient liquid. Boom! After fighting over and over again, Yi Tian successfully killed a primordial ancient river that was comparable to the peak of the 6th layer primordial ancestor, seized its primordial ancient liquid, and then began to flee. Just when they escaped from the cut-off mountain range, a sudden change occurred. Boom! The entire truncated mountain range began to vibrate, and countless black figures poured out of the truncated Black Mountain. Seeing this scene, Yi Tian suddenly realized that something was wrong. No, this is antiquities turmoil. Yi Tian is very clear about what the turmoil of antiquities represents. This is because countless primitive antiquities swept this area. During this period, one must not go to the silent Black Sea, otherwise, he will definitely die. And some special primitive antiquities can even break into the boundaries of the district. Of course, primitive antiquities of that kind are rare, but they exist. Enter the nearest district first. Yi Tian decided. At the same time, he sent the message to other Taoist ancestors, and spread the news of the turmoil of the ancients to the corpse. Chapter 2179 Antiquities are in turmoil, and the cultivation base breaks through. Open black lens bracket seeking full ord. Taiku Yuan area boundary. The Taoist ancestors of the Taiku Taoist alliance also knew about the turmoil of the ancients, and they all looked extremely solemn. Moreover, they quickly contacted other Taoist ancestors to confirm the authenticity of this matter. After all, the turmoil of antiquities from the beginning to covering this area is a very short period of time, so it has now spread and it is easy to confirm. Next, we can no longer enter the silent Black Sea, and we must strictly prevent special primitive relics from sneaking into our primordial region from the silent Black Sea. The Taoist ancestors of the Taiku Taoist League thought to themselves. Although this antiquities turmoil has been reminded, many Taoist ancestors knew in advance, but some Taoist ancestors were on their way in the silent Black Sea, and they did not enter the area at the first time, and were killed instantly. Therefore, the fallen Taoist ancestors reached several. The ancient animals, 140, came in disorder, and all the Taoist ancestors stayed in the area with peace of mind. Yi Tian was the same. His other cloned body didn't even plan to come back. He stayed in that area and started retreating and practicing, using the last original ancient liquid to attack the peak realm of the 6th layer original ancestor. This day, there was a little change in the area boundary of the primordial realm. A black aura actually melted the barrier of the area boundary of the primordial ancient primordial area, forming a crack, which penetrated through the crack. At the beginning, the Taoist ancestors of the Taiku Taoist League did not realize this. But after this group of black aura directly destroyed the original regions, it naturally attracted the attention of the Taiku Tao League. A group of Taoist ancestors surrounded the black aura. They recognized it, and it was clearly a primitive relic. However, they do not know the origin of this primitive artifact. Boom! The Taoist ancestors kept attacking, but they still couldn't kill this primitive antiquity. It's not good. This primitive antiquity is at most comparable to the Taoist ancestors in the middle stage of the 6th layer original ancestor, but it is invisible and intangible, and it is too difficult to kill. Zhu Bai Taoist said with a frown. At this moment, Yi Tian arrived. A golden light came, killing this primitive antiquity in an instant. Thank you for the endless Taoist ancestor. A Taoist ancestor thanked. Small matter, if there are primitive antiquities that can't be solved, you can inform me. Yi Tian finished and left. The strength of the endless Tao ancestor is getting more and more terrifying. A Taoist said with emotion. This is a good thing for us. At least this time the antiquities turmoil will not cause any great danger to our Taiku region. And if some weak regions are unlucky, all the creatures in the entire region will be destroyed by the original antiquity. Restart. Reincarnation of the district, another Taoist ancestor said. Let's go, be careful during this time, and send some 5-level Taoist ancestors by the way, let them patrol around a bit more, and absolutely can't let any primitive antiquities be destroyed. Immediately, these Taoist ancestors went back one by one. Time flies, and a period of time has passed. At this time, Yi Tian finally completed the final breakthrough using the original ancient liquid. The peak realm of the 6 original ancestors. Yi Tian broke through to this level. The current strength is much stronger than in the past, and I can now use the Yuan Dao tempering technique to temper my body and hit the half-step 7-fold original ancestor realm. Yi Tian smiled. Of course, even if one's cultivation base has reached the peak of the 6th level primordial ancestor and comprehends the infinite primordial path, it is not possible to break through to the half-step 7th level primordial ancestor realm. The cultivation of Yuan Dao quenching technique is also carried out slowly and takes a long time. But in this process, his body will become stronger and stronger, and his strength will gradually increase. First try to temper your body with endless Yuan Dao. Yi Tian controls Zhouzhong Yuan Dao, the power of endless Yuan Dao. Under the action of the Yuan Dao quenching technique, the power of the endless Yuan Dao continuously tempers the physical body. The physical body, which has been unable to progress and has reached its limit, has now begun to improve again. Although the progress is not fast, it is still progressing. According to the inheritance, use Yuan Dao tempering technique to continuously temper. When you perceive a certain limit, break it, you will become a half-step 7-fold original ancestor. But the boundaries of each Dao ancestor are different, and the limit can be reached. Sometimes, I feel it myself. Yi Tian secretly said. He doesn't know when his limit will be reached, so he silently tempers like this, enjoying the joy of improving his strength. During this period, the Taikuyuan region boundary also encountered several invasions of primitive antiquities, but all of them were resolved, and it did not cause any trouble to the Taikuyuan region boundary. Daozu Xuanqing invited me to explore the Dark Ancient Nest. Yi Tian also knew that the Dark Ancient Nest was formerly called the Dark Zone Boundary, but there was a great battle that caused the Dark Ancient Nest to be completely shattered, and the degree of fragmentation exceeded the shattered Void Zone boundary. But in the years that followed, an incomparably huge ancient nest grew out of the place where the Dark Zone boundary was located. Since then, the Dark Ancient Nest has become a forbidden area, and even the Taoist ancestors of the half-step 7th level ancestor level would not dare to enter the Dark Ancient Nest. Because the Dark Ancient Nest is such a large ancient nest, it has a great suppression on the half-step 7-fold primitive ancestor, and there are too many primitive antiquities inside. Therefore, the half-step 7th layer primordial ancestor did not dare to enter it, otherwise he would not be able to escape. Silent Black Sea, Yi Tian and Xuanqing Daozu and other 13 Dao ancestor kings together. There is also a small group between Daozu and Daozu, and the small group of Xuanqing Daozu now invites Yi Tian, which is considered to be trying to win over Yi Tian. After all, Yi Tian's potential is very great, and what is condensed is the 9-fold Dao fruit. As long as he does not fall, he will surpass them in the future. Therefore, they wanted to draw Yi Tian in. After Yi Tian greeted the 12 Taoist ancestors, he began to discuss the matter of entering the Dark Ancient Nest. At this time, Xuanqing Daozu said, Daozu, now that the antiquities turmoil has just ended, during this period of time, primitive antiquities rarely appear, and there will be very few primitive antiquities in the Dark Ancient Nest. The most important thing is that the Dark Ancient Nest is this period of time, will not be suppressed. After our 5.9s enter the Dark Ancient Nest, we can explode with all our strength. As for why this happens, we don't know, but this is the only chance. Not only our Taoist ancestors will go in, other Tao ancestors who have reached the half-step 7-fold original ancestor level will also enter. Xuanqing Daozu, I have never entered the Dark Ancient Nest, what good things are there? Yi Tian asked curiously. Xuanqing Daozu smiled and said, there are many good things in the Dark Ancient Nest. For example, the golden branch virtual fruit you got from Qingfeng Daozu was found in the Dark Ancient Nest. At the beginning, a total of 18 golden branch virtual fruits were found. These golden branches, the virtual fruit grows on the golden branch virtual tree, and now that golden branch virtual tree should give birth to a new golden branch virtual fruit. Of course, the golden branch virtual fruit is nothing, the real good thing inside the Dark Ancient Nest is the dark bluestone liquid. Chapter 2180 Showing Strength, all shocked. Open black lens bracket seeking full order close black lens bracket. Dark bluestone liquid. Yi Tian didn't understand the purpose of this treasure, so he was a little curious. Xuanqing Daozu continued. Dark bluestone liquid can assist Yuan Dao to temper the body, and the peak of the 6th level ancestor can hit the half-step 7th level ancestor. It only needs to use Yuan Dao tempering to break the boundary once. But the general half-step 7th level it is difficult to continue to temper the body if the original ancestor breaks the limit 3 or 4 times. To become the 7th level original ancestor, the minimum requirement is to break the limit 9 times. It is necessary to evolve the mastery of the primordial path of life to the top mastery of the primordial path, so as to be eligible to attack the realm of the 7th layer primordial ancestor. But the few times the boundaries are broken, the success rate is very low, so we all want to break more boundaries. Relying on one's own ability, it is impossible to continue refining at all, and can only rely on foreign objects, and the effect of dark bluestone liquid is very good too. Therefore, the value of this treasure is very high, and it is also the treasure that our half-step 7-fold ancestors dream of. 1. Dark bluestone liquid actually has such an effect. Yi Tian was also a little moved. If he obtained the dark bluestone liquid, wouldn't he be able to break through to the half-step 7th level ancestor realm soon? After all, he constantly tempers his body with the endless Yuan Dao, and it will take a long time to break the boundary once, but with the dark bluestone liquid, you can reduce this time by 29. Let's go to the Dark Ancient Nest now, we can't waste time. Xuanqing Dao Ancestor Dao, a Taoist ancestor quickly shuttled to the Dark Ancient Nest. Before long, they came to the Dark Ancient Nest. The Dark Ancient Nest is very large, far surpassing other ancient nests. Many Taoist ancestors did not have any fear and directly broke into the Dark Ancient Nest. After entering the Dark Ancient Nest, Yi Tian did not feel any suppression, but sensed the existence of other Taoist ancestors, as well as some primitive relics. The primitive antiquities here are mainly cyan stones, some are stone spears, some are stone mirrors, some are stone pillars, and the shapes are different, but they basically belong to the same type of primitive antiquities. Don't separate everyone, Xuanqing Daozu reminded. If they are separated, they will be easily broken one by one, and only when they are united can they form a powerful combat force. This is also the reason why they joined forces to enter here. If they enter alone, the possibility of falling is too great. Boom. Along the way, one by one primitive antiquities were killed by them. And they also found some resources, and they were all distributed equally. There are so many good things here. Yi Tian was surprised. The last time he also entered the ancient nest of Yuanshan Drum, but there was no treasure there, only Yuanshan Drum, but this dark ancient nest is not simple, not only has a large number of primitive antiquities but also many resources. However, this place is too dangerous, and it is fortunate that after the antiquities turmoil, the number of primitive antiquities here has been greatly reduced, and there is no suppression here, otherwise no one dares to come in. Soon, Yi Tian and Xuanqing Daozu came to the central area of the dark ancient nest, and only here is the dark bluestone liquid. The dark bluestone liquid was born from the dark bluestone tree, which is a kind of cyan stone tree, and it is also a primitive antiquity, but it does not move, and its defensive power is very amazing. Our goal is to find the dark bluestone tree, and at the same time have to dike other Taoist ancestors. Xuanqing Daozu reminded. After a while, Yi Tian and the others finally found the dark bluestone tree, but some other Taoist ancestors also found it here. The Daozu headed by the other party is Mantuo Daozu, and his strength seems to be stronger than Xuanqing Daozu. Xuanqing Daozu, this dark bluestone belongs to us, you can leave. Mantuo Daozu said coldly. There are 16 Taoist ancestors on the Manduo Taoist side, and only 13 on the Xuanqing Taoist side. Suddenly, Xuanqing Daozu's face was a little gloomy, and he seemed to have some thoughts of retreat. At this time, Yi Tian sent a message to Xuanqing Daozu. Xuanqing Daozu, there is no need to be afraid of each other. I have now broken through to the peak of the 6th level original ancestor, and I have comprehended the 9th level Yuan Dao and began to use Yuan Dao to temper my body. My current strength is comparable to that in Yuan dynasty. God's drum was too powerful when he was in the ancient nest. 1. Endless Dao ancestor, you have understood Zhouzhang Yuan Dao, then we really have hope of defeating them. Xuanqing Daozu said in surprise. So, he became bold. Manduo Daozu, it's you who should go. 1 inch. You wanna die. Mondo Daozu was furious. He is also a half-step 7th level ancestor, and he, like Xuanqing Daozu, comprehends 8th level Yuan Dao, and he broke the limit 6 times, while Xuanqing Daozu only broke the limit 5 times. His strength is comparable to that of Xuanqing Daozu. As for the other Taoist ancestors around Xuanqing Daoist, almost all of them were between the 3rd limit and the 5th limit, and the weakest one only broke the limit twice. And Yi Tian, the original ancestor of the 6th level peak, was directly ignored by him. Go, Yi Tian said. They only need to show strength stronger than them, and they will retreat. Xuanqing Daozu nodded and started directly. This time, Yi Tian met the Daozu Mantuo. Yi Tian covered the whole body with endless golden light, and the endless black domain suppressed the opponent and punched him. Suddenly, the endless golden light tore everything apart. Boom! Ancient lair void shattered, and the Taoist body of Mantuo Daozu was blown away by a single blow, and his body was cracked. At this moment, 140 he was immediately stunned. He actually couldn't beat Yi Tian. What's the situation? Roll. Yi Tian exerted his endless golden light with all his strength, and every Taoist ancestor of the opponent was swept away by him. Although he did not die, his injuries were not light. Walk. Mantuo Daozu did not dare to continue to fight with Yi Tian, otherwise these Taoist ancestors would fall a little, and even he might not be able to retreat safely. Endless Dao ancestor, your strength is too powerful, this is Zhouzhang Yuan Dao. Xuanqing Daozu exclaimed. He also has a Taoist ancestor who has comprehended 36 extreme extremes, but when he was in the Tongtianyuan region, he did not comprehend the Zhouzhang Yuan Dao, only the embryonic form of the Zhouzhang Yuan Dao and left Tongtian. The original region boundary has crossed the truncated Montenegro, and has not yet returned. If the other party has not fallen, there may be hope to become the original ancestor of the 7th layer. Of course, it is also possible to be in the realm of the half-step 7-fold original ancestor. Therefore, he has never seen the peak Taoist ancestor of the 6th layer who truly understands the 7th layer of Yuan Dao, but now he has really seen it, and his strength is so terrifying. In fact, other Taoist ancestors at the peak level of the 6th level primordial ancestor who have comprehended the 9th level Yuan Dao are not as strong as Yi Tian. After all, Yi Tian's background is too strong, he has countless extreme Taoist ancestors, and his foundation is too terrifying. That's why his strength is so terrifying.